Okay, we do have a quorum present, so we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. We'll start with our Pledge of Allegiance. Ray Lynn's going to do the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Denise will read the board mission statement.
Through high expectations and equitable opportunity, TMISD will focus on the whole child by providing a safe environment and high-quality curriculum with diverse and enriching experiences.
All right, thank you. All right, we'll start with the public hearing, the Texas Academic Performance Report, 2022-2023. Dr. White.
Good evening, everyone, members of the board, members of the audience. Tonight, we're starting a little early so that we can give the district's update on its annual report, which involves the TAPER report. And so each year, on a continuum, we give a report of the district, which again is focused primarily on the information that's contained in the TAPER report. The TAPER report comes in a variety of different formats and is available in a variety of different ways. And so you can get the TAPER report by coming to the building here and requesting a copy. You'll be given a hard copy. You can find it on the website at the required postings link. And then on the TA website, you can find the official link to the document, whether you would like to read it in its PDF form. You can also go to the online TAPER here. And what's new in the last couple of years is the PDF now TAPER, which is a hard copy paper report, is now more of a digital dashboard on TA's website. And so if you'd like and you're more internet savvy, you can go and read the data information based on the area, and you can get there quickly. And this is just another way to get the same information. And so those are the ways the information is available. Real quick, the report does require certain sections to be covered, and so each section is broken out into 7 areas. And so we start with the TAPER report, and then from there we move into more from the student performance into the financial performance of the district. We then move into section 3, which talks about the accreditation of the district. Section 4 is about the campus improvement plans and the performance objectives contained in each of those plans. Section 5 speaks to what we report to PEIMS as far as discipline on each campus and whether or not those discipline consequences are at the threshold for what the state would consider to be violent or criminal. And then the second to last section involves post-graduation data collection and looks to kind of track our graduates by school year and GPA. And then section 7 just talks about the district's progress towards meeting certain required goals from the state. And so section 1 is the TAPER. Currently, the state is kind of going through a lawsuit. And so as a result of that lawsuit in which certain districts are disputing how this year's accountability was being kind of rolled out and presented to the districts. As a result of that litigation, each of the ratings, the statuses, and the designations are currently postponed for all districts. Getting into the heart of the TAPER report, which contains primarily information about student performance and STAR EOC, just to kind of capture where the district is as far as the region and state is concerned. Relative to the performance levels you can earn on STAR, you can see here that the district is either at or above the region or state in each of those areas. And this is for all grades, all subjects, for all students in the district. Where do we stand? We do the same for attendance, graduation, and dropout rates. You'll notice that as the school year we are looking at for the data, it comes from 21-22. Anytime we see attendance, graduation, or dropout rate for TAPER, those pieces of data are always reported 2 years behind. And so you can see our attendance a little lower, but a little bit above the region compared to the state. And we've always had an excellent and stellar dropout rate and a 4-year grad rate.
That attendance average, is that the snapshot or that's
That's the
average
overall
throughout the
average.
year? Okay.
Average. And the last piece that gets reported on TAPR for student performance is CCMR, or College, Career, and Military Readiness. So you can see from 21-22 school year, we're a little bit lower in some respects to the region and state and a little bit higher than some of the others. But I will say that as we have transitioned from prior year CT programming into new CT programming with the Warpath Academy, we expect our percentages to be up into the 80% across the board. Section 2 talks about PEIMS. Real quickly, a snapshot of the most critical data points when it comes to reporting on the financials. Section 3 talks about the accreditation. And even though the districts with the state is still going kind of through that lawsuit when it comes to the new accountability rating, that has not impacted accreditation. And like it did last year when we were still coming out of the COVID years, this is the first year that accreditation has been kind of reassigned and TMISD is still accredited. And our prior school year rating was a B. Section 4 talks about the campus improvement plans. If you'd like to read more about the plans, our progress towards those performance goals, each of those plans are posted on the website. You can easily click on them, access them, and what's nice about those reports is that it takes you to the link where it'll kind of give you that live update as far as where the performance reports are. Or as far as the plans are relative to the performance objectives that are found in each of the plans. So if you are curious or would like to know kind of the latest updates as far as each campus plan and progress towards those goals, those links are there for you to review. Section 5, talking about student discipline, the report on criminal or violent incidents. I know this is a kind of a hard to read small chart, but all it says is that we did not have any criminal or violent incidents reported for 22-23. Section 6 talks about post-secondary GPA and performance from our students. This data is relatively new. That's being tracked by the Texas Higher Education College Board. And as a result of that, they just started with the 2021 graduated cohort. And so this data is almost 3 years behind. And if you think about it, the reason why it is that far behind is that they need another year for those students who do graduate from us to complete that college, either a semester or a full year, in order to collect that GPA data, in order to report on it. And so while it is about 3 years behind, it is really helpful for us because it is giving us an idea as far as which students from ACC or high school are going forward and also how are they actually performing after they leave us. And so the reason why we are only able to show ACC on this slide is that when we did report our data in 2021, unfortunately at the high school, we only reported one graduated student, which was an error on our part. And as a result of that reporting error, we're not able to track those students because the higher ed folks don't have that data from us because it's all based on our PEIMS. And so that's an unfortunate mistake on our part. But moving forward, that is a data thing that has been corrected by us. For those that are interested in learning a little bit more about post-secondary opportunities with our students, you can also click on the enrollment report, which will give you updated data as current as the 2022 graduates, which does include our high school campus students. Last section is just talking about more goal reporting as it relates to the goals that we have for early education and CCMR. And the way we're kind of doing it now is that early ed and CCMR, those board outcome goals have kind of been reformatted and updated into what we're now calling the district strategic plan. And so all three of these kind of reporting plans contain the same information about the board outcome goals. The district strategic plan is just the most current version of where you can see those goals and the progress towards meeting those goals. And last but not least, for more information, I can be contacted by email or by office phone. And for any other types of questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them or speak a little bit more on a certain topic that if anybody would like to know a little bit more about or the board has a question about, that would be this time.
All right, thank you, Dr. White.
Welcome.
That was public hearing only, no board action. The meeting is scheduled to start at 6:15, so we're going to remain in compliance. We're going to wait till 6:15 and then start the meeting. We will start with the public comment section, so thank you all.
Very good. Better. Chrissy, how many footballers?
We'll have to talk.
Did our volleyball?
I would need to, yeah. It's good to bring your stuff to She recognizes.
We went Saturday.
To eat? Was it good?
I've been going with Nora for years, but
Good. Good. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, thanks. We went too. We were there Saturday.
there,
Yeah, we went kind of late. Yeah.
Saturday. What was the weather Saturday?
no, we went,
Bad, right?
we went Friday.
Oh, okay, yeah, we went Saturday. The weather was bad. It's really good. It's not good for your diet, but it's really good.
Cheat day for sure. Cheat day, though.
A cheat day.
Oh.
It was that too, though, right? Oh, yeah.
And that used to be Jason's Deli. Slotsky's.
Years ago.
So it's not for sure, like, for example.
Back when McKinsey was just 2 lanes. Big old bitches on the side. I remember that. Where they put in all those nice islands. And it was still like that. Is that That's how it was all the way.
Where is Annabelle?
Yeah, that's what I
The
figured.
beginning and the end. When are you in Annabelle?
Road to
Where?
Core Products Road all the way to Starlight Strong.
That's Annabelle.
Well, we consider HEB Annabelle, but
Okay.
technically it's Calab. School by school district.
And Annabelle is all TM.
We'll take the
There you go.
And so Corn Products is CCISD.
On that side,
Yeah,
this side,
all right outside Victoria County. Jackson. I always liked this spot. We were
And then going towards 44, jump into London.
He'd already taken all the choices.
Cemetery.
For my daughter. One of those is they said it's a guy in high school.
Out there, you know, at the end of, for example, Black Horse.
Fredericksburg.
That's where West Coast is course.
I took Fredericksburg.
First, 12.
All right. It is 6:15, so we're going to get the meeting started. So the next item on the agenda is public comment, which is the time for members of the audience to address the Board of Trustees. Before we begin, I will remind our audience members of the board's procedures for handling public comments. Each public comment speaker will be allowed a maximum of 3 minutes to address the board, except the non-English speakers will be allowed a maximum of 6 minutes to address the board. Public comments shall be limited to discussion on the items on tonight's agenda. Please keep your comments or criticisms civil and courteous. Avoid using profanity and refrain from making personal attacks on others during your opportunity to speak. Yelling, inappropriate, uncivil, or discriminatory comments will not be permitted. For a list of prohibited behaviors and conduct during public comment, please see TMISD Board Policy BED Local. Lastly, we ask that you not discuss students who are not your own child. And I also caution you that your public comments are not intended for complaints about individual school employees or students. Public comment is also not intended to discuss employees by name or position or identify students other than your own child. As presiding officer, I am obligated to determine whether a person addressing the board has attempted to administratively resolve any complaints or grievances about which they want to address the board that involve district officers, employees, students, or parents. In the event your comment constitutes a complaint or charge against an employee, officer, student, or parent, it may be necessary for me to interrupt and direct you to proceed with the school's district formal grievance procedure, which can be found online and includes policies DGBA, FNG, and GF. Thank you. Our first speaker is Miss Melissa Craig. Yes, ma'am, you can stand here and speak.
Here or there?
Yes. Right, wherever you'd like, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I come here with no grievances. My name is Melissa Craig, and I was the wife and widow of Coach Bobby Craig, who was here since 1982. And in the year 2012, Bobby was given the honor of having a resolution for the gymnasium to be dedicated in his name. And this is 8 years before he had passed away. So he did have the honor of playing in his own gymnasium. And today is our son's 31st birthday, and he and his wife will be having a son in the first week of June, and his name will be Bobby Craig. And so we're honored that Dobie has chosen that name. So if it is okay with y'all, I could, some of you weren't here when this happened, but this is adopted on the 21st day of June 2012, and it was signed by all of the school board members, and Paul Mostello, Hector Del Toro, John Samaniego, Billy Lerma, Felix Landine, Jan Mostello, and Rosemary DeLeon. And I'll try to read it as fast as I can. Whereas Tolosa Midway Independent School District understands the importance a coach plays in the overall education program provided to the students we serve. And whereas Tolosa Midway Independent School District recognizes that certain coaches go above and beyond developing athletic skills that provide our students with quality learning experiences. And whereas Tolosa Midway Independent School District believes that Bobby Craig is such a coach and deserves recognition for his service to the students of Tolosa Midway, and whereas Bobby Craig has 37 years of credible service to the children of the state of Texas. At the end of the 2013 school year, will have 30 years as the head boys basketball coach at TM High School. And whereas Bobby Craig has accumulated 670 total 9 wins, which is now over 800. And during his career at the head boys.
Your 3 minutes is up, ma'am. Sorry, but we appreciate that.
Okay.
Our next speaker will be Miss Elizabeth Martinez.
Okay, so whereas Bobby Craig in the state of playoffs 18 times to the head basketball coach of TM High School, and whereas Bobby Craig left a legacy of his basketball players due to his enthusiasm, determination, and desire to install high standards behavior on and off the court, whereas Bobby Craig fosters a relationship with his peers and demonstrates he cares beyond winning. Therefore, resolved, the Board of Trustees of Tolosa Midway and the district would like to name the varsity gym Tolosa Midway, the Bobby Craig Gymnasium, for the man who has of whose commitment of the game exemplifies and qualifies outstanding educator and coach. We are proud of Coach Craig not only for coaching ability, but for his service to the district and thousands of students proudly served during the tenure of Tolosa Midway. Bobby Craig was a really great man, not only as a coach, as a family man. He went to bat for his students. He went to go talk to my daughter, the college, represent my daughter, and then took the band aside and kept on encouraging them to let her in and to back her up. You know, he not only served you here, he went to bat for you and continued afterwards as he knew you. We've known Bobby Craig in our lives, our whole lives. I worked with Melissa, and he became a part of our family, and he's a great man. And it would be a very big honor to put his name back on the gymnasium, because he was a really good man. And I hope that y'all would realize that and take it into consideration, putting his name back on the gym, because he did a lot, the Pride of Texas tournament, a lot of things for players. He was a very good educator. He talked to kids. I know there was an incident where he talked somebody with a gun and avoided any situation and just managed the situation, and nothing occurred, thank God, to him. Or nobody was hurt, nothing happened. But he was a really great man, and I would appreciate it if he would consider putting his name back on there, because he deserved it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next public speaker is Mr. Everett Roy.
Good evening, trustees, superintendent, community. My name's Councilman Everett Roy for District 1. It's been a little while since I've been out here, and I just wanted to take a moment. I had the day off, so banks don't work on President's Day. And so I thought a better way that I could spend the evening than come out here and address some of the things that are going on in the community. First and foremost, I appreciate, I got a phone call. We had a lot of rain about a week ago, week and a half ago. I got a phone call that said you guys had a mosquito problem. So I sent Vector Control out to spray around the area. And I appreciate when somebody reaches out and communicates. It's that problem's a citywide problem, but the sooner we can get on top of it, the better it is. I also want to talk a little bit about, there's a meeting going on tomorrow night. Lately, desalinization has been something that has kept the city really busy. There's a meeting tomorrow at the Annaville Baptist Church at 6:30. Well, they'll have somebody from CC Water talking, and it's a Q&A time and just a little bit of a briefing if you have any questions on what's going on. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of misinformation out there. So I just wanted to pass that on, that meeting is tomorrow at 6:30 at the Hannibal Baptist Church. One of the other things I'm working on, one of the things I was working on in the last probably 3 or 4 months, which took longer than I thought, was just trying to get the manholes and the sewer covers on McKenzie fixed. That was a joint project between AT&T, the city, and the county, and TxDOT. We finally got it done, I think, and improved it. And we're continuing to work on streets in the area. There was a project that the city, we have a problem with sidewalks. I think everybody would agree that we have a problem with sidewalks. And there was going to be a pilot program in District 2. And I lobbied very hard. I said, no, if you're going to do a pilot program, you're going to have to either do it in every district, but you got to include District 1. So we're working on that. Right now, there's an ordinance that basically says that the homeowner is responsible for the sidewalk. There's other cities that the city takes care of the sidewalks. So we're working on that, really looking, we're at the beginning stages of looking at that ordinance to try to change it to help people in terms of making sure that those sidewalks are handicap access and to have sidewalks where sidewalks are needed. And so I'm excited about that. There's just a lot going on. I appreciate the feedback and the people calling me. We're doing a lot right now with the park. I think we did get the problem resolved as far as the practice field, right? And I know, I'm glad Parks and Rec and everybody's cooperating on that. We should have the well drilled. It's a solar small well for the duck pond, and we're continuing to work on West Booth Park. Anyway, there's a lot of exciting things going on. I appreciate your support, and just continue to call me if you have any issues. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that is the end of the public speaking. We will move on now to recognitions. We have recognitions for our volleyball and football, our superintendent student advisory council, and Hellas Construction.
Is Coach here?
Coach is here.
When you go 8-3, you can be a little late. 9-2, you can be a lot late. Okay. Will you all join us? Sure. Please.
Good to see everybody here. We had an exceptional season. What I normally like to talk about is team goals, team accomplishments. We had more first team all districts. We had an MVP. All those things are fantastic. What's more important, and we have a senior here I like talking about, is where they've come from 3 years ago. 1-9, 6-5, 8-3. All that represents is a bunch of kids who are dedicated to doing something special. And what this is special. Football is the ultimate team sport. It takes so many people to do it. Friday nights is the community center for the district. We love it. And these young men have done that kind of stuff. So when we see what's coming in, I talk about this is the best of us. Our kids are the best of us. We want to feed that and make that special.
Thank you, Coach.
Yes, sir.
All right. First athlete we have is Mr. Jonas Darby.
Yeah.
Next one we have is a really good running back. I heard he's a really good linebacker too, so we got to watch that. But Damian Figueroa. And then we have our quarterback, who's a junior, will be back with us next year, Mr. Brayson Bazell. Mr. Tristan Jimenez. Got another up-and-coming linebacker, Mr. Jordan Gonzalez. The next guy, he's pretty electric. He's not big, but you watch him on the field, Mr. Ricky Hernandez. Next person we have is Mr. Alec De Los Santos.
So that's okay.
This guy was an offensive lineman I like to watch because he'd get after it, Mr. Jose Daniel Flores. Another one of the guys that get after it, Mr. Adam Alvarez. These guys made life easy for Damien and Joey. Next one is Mr. Jose Garza. This guy, you hear his name a lot in the field, Mr. Sean Burdick. Another sophomore is going to be turning it up next year, Mr. Gabriel Ortiz. And the biggest of the big men, Mr. Alex Xavier Hinojosa.
I'm right here.
Over here. Act like you like each other.
I got to get in front of you.
We're gonna have to have the board
You gotta get in front.
Miss Santiano?
Okay, I'm going on the other side.
Here we go.
Bro, let me get behind Ricky, bro.
All right, here we go.
Yes.
1, 2, and 3. Got it. Good job.
Going 3 in a row next year, right? 3 in a row.
Good
job, guys.
Thanks for being great.
Diego senior year, see you later. They told us it's 13 years.
Next is volleyball.
Yes, sir. Do you want them?
No. Keep them coming.
I have Isabella Garcia and Maddie Hinojosa here tonight. And these two girls, they had the awesome accomplishment of being selected, Maddie for the TGCA Academic All-State, and Bella was nominated, or she got awarded the TGCA All-State team. So these two girls are fantastic young girls, Maddie being a senior, graduating this year. She's going to be very, very, very much missed, especially by me, and I know her teammates. And then this girl gets to hang around for a couple more years, so we're glad about that. So to get these honors is super, super awesome, and it speaks to them and their character and just the hard work that they put in, Maddie in the classroom and Bella on the court. So I'm super proud of them. And couldn't say more good things about them. They're awesome girls.
Are your parents here? Stand up. They're not here? Are they here?
Lori's here. Lori's here. That's up there. That is right there.
Well, what I want to say, Coach, is obviously I got to watch them play a lot. And not only were they good, but they were outstanding role models for their teammates. And they represented not only themselves, their families, their school, and the team community first class. And that's really important to me. Thank you very much. Can we get a picture?
Yes, sir.
This is easy. Come over
Go
here.
here, girls, in the middle.
Okay. Yeah. I'm pretty tall, so.
All right, here we go. 1, 2, and 3. Got it. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Well done. We're not getting certificates. Let me, do we have them grouped with seniors? So this next group of students is my inaugural Superintendent Advisory Council. And this is an extremely select group of ACC, Tolosa Midway High School, and Tolosa Midway Middle School students. There's 14 of them. They were selected by 5 teachers at each of our campuses. There was a combination of citizenship, scholarship, just well-rounded students. And what they will be doing with me is they will be meeting with me a minimum 1 time a month, and we will be addressing issues that affect students, teachers, administrators, and our TMISD. On the 28th, they are special guests of the president of A&M Kingsville. He will be doing a seminar with them on leadership. Then they'll be doing a seminar on leadership with the president of Texas A&M Corpus Christi, and then the mayor. Since we're in a huge building project, thanks to you, the community, $165 million, they will be in the room with architects and engineers and planners, and they will be given their opinion and advice on what we should do and how these situations should look. One of the things that I think we do a very poor job of is integrating students into the decision-making process and getting their opinions on how we do things. And after having lunch with this group today, we had a long 2-hour lunch, they're very opinionated. So I'm anxious to show them off. When I die, the first sentence in my obituary was Steve Van Matry was a teacher. And when you're superintendent, you don't have your classes. So this is my group of kids that I am really, really looking forward to having a relationship with, so we can do some really neat things. So I'm going to introduce them, and then if you can come up here and introduce yourself to the board, and then we'll meet your families, and we'll go from there. Cohen Genesee, Senior. We have, let me find my seniors. Ashlyn Havelka. Let me have Isaac Burnaby. Congratulations. Isabella Cantu. Let me find my juniors. They're not in any order. Miss Bhakta, you're going to have to help me with the first name. Come on over. Ileana Arias. My sophomores. Let me find my sophomores. Madison Tierney. Mia Chapa. Jada Martinez. And Adeline Ruth. My freshmen, we have 2 freshmen, Adeline Alvarado. And where's Ernest Ibaye? And they've agreed to allow 2 8th graders to join the group. They get their food last. And they're not allowed to say anything until everybody else is speaking, but we're very proud of these 2 8th graders. Ray Ramos and Daisy Martinez. So if one of these is your son or daughter or aunt or whatever, if you will stand up and let us recognize you, because having children such as these are doesn't happen by accident. Congratulations. If you can just stand up. Thank you so much. So, talk just a little bit about today's lunch? Was it what you thought it was going to be? Is it, let me hear, give me some feedback. How did we do?
I think we're gonna do a lot of working on the school, and I think there's gonna be like, our future is like in really good hands. So, yeah. And we all have a lot of different opinions, and I like how all the students are in different like aspects of the school. And then I'm really glad we have middle schoolers too, because they'll be with us all the years, and everyone's just, I love all the different opinions on everything, so we get the students involved more in their opinions.
It was a good session today. Today, they know what goes on at a campus, the structure of a campus. But what I wanted to introduce them to today was what goes on in this building, the behind the scenes, the administration, some of our job. Do you know what they told me?
I know what my kid told me when she got home.
What did she say?
She said it looked lonely. There was no kids here.
And they said, it's so quiet. We like quiet. It's not always quiet, but we like quiet. But I'm really excited to show them off and take them everywhere we can possibly go. Our seniors are going to have a short time with us since they graduate in May, but this is the structure. If they choose to stay with me, then they will, those that are coming back that aren't seniors, will be part of the council all next year, and then they'll fall off and we'll get some new blood in there. But this is something I've wanted to do, and I'm glad we finally have you, and thanks, parents, for allowing us to do that. We appreciate you. Thank you. You look great. Can we get a picture? And you're the valedictorian. You organize.
All right. If I could get everybody in a window.
Yeah, get on this side.
Miss Villalobos and Miss Angelo, can I get y'all to kind of come? There you go. Just in a window.
I'm good.
Yes. All right, let's see how we're gonna do this. All right, everybody look this way. 1, 2, and 3. Got it. Thank you.
Great job, kids. You can leave now.
Thank you all so much.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. You too.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Okay. If you've been around TM, you understand we've gone through some significant improvements to our athletic facilities. We invested, the community, the board invested $5.5 million in Warrior Stadium, not only for football, but for soccer, for track, for band. Prior to the meeting, I was over in the parking lot, and it was really, really satisfying for me to watch so many children, students. Soccer practice was going on, track and field. I think the JV baseball team, I didn't get to see what was going on in the soccer. And so many Warriors and Cherokees. I mean, you all know the importance of athletics. It's my #1 at-risk program, without a doubt. It's not even close. And then we had a very successful bond election, $165 million. And there were 2 propositions that were directly related to athletics. One for the renovation of the natatorium, and one for turfing and putting up new scoreboards at baseball, softball, and resurfacing tennis. So the election was in November, and it was bothering me that our senior softball and baseball players weren't going to get an opportunity to play on the new fields. So I went back, Brian, and I looked at a text message. It was September the 14th. It was a Friday night, and close to the election. And I text Brian and I said, if we can get board approval by mid-November, is it possible that our seniors could be able to use the new fields for their final season in baseball and softball? And he said he would check with the president and owner, and the next day he said, yes, that's possible. So fast forward, we communicated that to our parents and student athletes, and then the bond passed. 8 votes. The bond passed that proposition by 8 votes. Every vote. I hear you're crazy. You called a couple of families to get them out. Paul's the reason the bond passed.
I'm taking credit.
Absolutely. And so I went and I met with the senior boys and the senior girls that were on baseball and softball. And I told them, I said, met with the boys first. I said, I can't control the weather. You were with me.
Yes, sir.
I said, but, and there's a good chance that we can't do this. Really accelerated schedule, doing 7 months worth of work in 77 days. And there's a chance that you won't play a game at TM if we get bad weather. I mean, within 2 or 3 seconds, unanimous, let's go. Then I went to the girls. Now, they had to caucus and think about it. They were much, much more deliberate than the boys were, but they said yes. So I've got 3 representatives from Hellas Construction Company that not only did the work on our fabulous Warrior Stadium, but also pulled off an amazing feat, Lawrence, in 77 days. And you know a little bit about construction. In 77 days, they were able to deliver our fields to us by February 1st. So I know that they would rather me be giving them a check tonight. but instead of that, sometimes I didn't know you were coming, but I've got 2 certificates. And if we could have the Hellas team up here, I want to thank you for honoring your word.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Brian, congratulations.
Thank you.
And Santos, I'll just shake your hand. And Monica Martinez.
Thank you.
Monica was our.
When you got a project like this, it all starts with a vision. And I've known Steve for almost 10 years now, and he's a true visionary. From the days at Sinton, from Freer to Fremont to here. And I would applaud the board for hiring this man, Chris O'Neill. I've been working in the Corpus area for the last 10 years, and the football has taken some great strides since he walked through the door. And not just football, all the programs. And the visions y'all have here, in my opinion, all the kids in the Corpus area are flocking here to go to school here because of the academics, because of that man right there, and athletics because of that man right there. So my hat's off to everybody here.
I really wanted to bring you in and thank you for providing an opportunity, particularly for our seniors, and his son is going to take advantage of that. Because, you know, you can say a lot of things to get the job, but you delivered. In 77 days, you gave us our fields. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you for all.
No. Not only did they provide our fields in that short amount of time, during the construction process, they also allowed our special education kids to go out and see the construction process. They had hard hats and everything. And not every company would allow students to do that. And that just shows what kind of community partners Hellas is with our district. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise, for saying that. Thanks, sir.
You really should get 2 scoops on this. Good job. Thank you.
They really look
All right. You got one? get one?
The next item is going to be, our first action item is the report, Bond 101.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, we have, as soon as we can hook up via Zoom, we have our legal counsel, general counsel for TMISD, Juan Cruz and Associates, to give a presentation that we've called Bond 101. And this is an opportunity for any type of questioning regarding any of the processes that we'll be going through or have been going through. So as soon as she hooks up, we'll go from there.
We're gonna leave. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, man. Is it, that's, it's on the other side. That's,
Juan, can you hear us?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think we lost you there. Were you sure?
All right. Can you hear me?
Do you want to do a share screen on your end?
Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you make it a little bigger, Juan?
Yeah.
You did it, you had it there, but then it went back.
All right. Let me try something else. Hold on.
There's your dog.
How's that?
Yeah, we're good now.
Well, good evening, and happy to see at least some people again that I saw this past weekend. So it's good to see several trustees. We didn't have a big turnout at the Region 2 School Board Conference, but it was good. It was nice. I'm here to talk about real quickly for you, just a brief presentation on the bond, and I'll go ahead and just kind of get right to it. I know that you have this wonderful bond that you passed that has several things in it, including new campuses and an education service center, athletic facilities as well. And in addition to that, you know, we also have school buses, safety and security, natatorium upgrades as part of the bond package. And last but not least is some of the maintenance projects that you also were able to get passed and get some funding for from your taxpayers. So where to begin with the bond project? Well, as you see there in the very first bullet, you see that the board can authorize basically taxes in the forms of bonds to basically be received by the taxpayers in order to build some facilities and maybe refurbish some facilities that you have. Once you have the bonds in place, which you do, you basically can go about it several ways. And the first things first is basically to get the land secured. And I understand that you already did that in terms of the Education Code 11.154 specifically allows the superintendent to secure professional services from a real estate broker. Once that is done, then you then go into the issue of deliberating and acquiring pieces of property if you don't have the pieces of property already. And when you do that, you can kind of discuss those things in closed session, because under 551.072, you don't want to kind of tip your hand in terms of what you're going to be offering for any desired piece of land that the district may want to acquire. After securing a piece of land and coming up to a price that's agreeable to the seller and to the buyer, then you have what is, in typical closing transactions, which is your deeds, your purchase sales agreements, your surveys, your title insurance, and other closing documents. Once you have the land in place, then the second step is to basically hire professionals to assist you with basically the plans and specs of your project. And two professionals that will be required are your architects and your engineers. Typical question that we want to get resolved right away is, well, how much are they going to cost? But under the Texas Government Code, that is not a question that could be asked or answered at the very beginning. In fact, the law says that in procuring architectural or engineering services, you first have to basically select the most highly qualified provider on the basis of demonstrated competence and qualifications. And then from there, you attempt to negotiate a contract at a fair and reasonable price. So it's basically what they call the two-step process. You have, let's say, 4 or 5 architect firms that apply. And then from there, you select which one has the most experience or, is for TMISD. And, you authorize the superintendent to negotiate a contract at a fair, reasonable price. And then that contract is brought back to the board for approval. With respect to engaging an architect, because your facilities do house staff and do house students, it's very important that the law is followed in terms of if you have any new building that exceeds $100,000 that's to be constructed, you need to have an architect in place. And if you're going to alter an existing building and it's going to cost you more than $50,000, you will be required under the law to have an architect in place as well. With respect to the engineer, it's actually a little bit more strict. If you have a public work that involves electrical or mechanical engineering, and the project is over $8,000 or less, then you will need a architect or an engineer, I should say. And a public work that does not need electrical or mechanical engineering basically is if it's $20,000 or less.
Juan, let me ask a clarifying question. Regarding the procurement of an engineer, can the architect, through their contract, subcontract the engineer on behalf of the district?
Yes. Yeah, that's something that's, we've seen that a lot as well. Then once you get those two professionals in place, you then need to determine how are you going to build these or acquire the construction services. And as we know, any good or service over $50,000 does require some type of competitive bidding process. And you have a board policy, CV local, that basically says the superintendent recommends the construction method and the board approves or does not approve of the superintendent's recommendation. But whatever contract is negotiated through this procurement method has to be brought back to the board for approval according to your board policy. There's different ways to construct buildings in public schools, and this is what you have at your disposal. You have competitive bidding. Competitive bidding is pretty straightforward. It's basically it's pretty simple. You advertise for bids, you receive those bids, and then you award the contract to the most responsible bidder. Not the lowest, but just the most responsible bidder. And obviously, you're going to have an engineer and architect that are going to prepare the plans and specifications for the school district. Under this method, the competitive bidding, when the bids come in, they will come in with a price. So you're able to basically say, this is the price, but it's pretty, there's no negotiation. Whereas in the second method, the competitive sealed proposals, that's a little bit more flexible. And there, what the first step is to basically put a proposal package together. What is the proposal package going to be? It's going to have your construction documents. It's going to have the criteria that you're going to grade the construction companies. It's going to have the value, how many points are you going to be given for such and such aspects of the proposal. It's going to have an estimated budget, and it's going to have a completion date. So once those specifications are out there, then you're going to receive the proposals, and the law says that the board awards the contract to the quote-unquote best value. Best value is not defined in the law, but it's basically not the lowest bidder. It's going to be based on the criteria that you put out there in terms of what the district is going to consider to be the best value. And it is what happens with the competitive sale proposals. Once it is received by the school district and the board ranks them, you have to say, for example, 3 companies, then the administration goes and negotiates with the top offerer, the top proposed vendor. And this is where you can do a lot of value engineering, which is basically, let's reduce the cost here. Maybe we don't need, 5 work streams, we need 4, to basically work with the budget that you have. And if you're able to negotiate with the top offerer, then you bring back the contract to the board for approval. If, however, if that top offer, it's just too high for the school district, then you're able to end the negotiation and go down to the second one. The third method is the construction manager agent. That is not really something that we commonly see. That's basically a company or an individual that basically acts like an agent for the school district with multiple contractors. And basically you have various contracts out there for all the work that is done on a project. The construction manager and agent cannot self-perform any of the work. And you determined a construction manager and agent based upon not price, but first you have to do kind of the 2-step process on qualifications and competence, rank them, and then try to negotiate and bring back that contract to the board. The next one is your construction manager at risk. This is basically somebody that's going to serve as your main contractor, as a general contractor. You will need an architect and an engineer, obviously separate from this construction manager at risk. You select the construction manager at risk either in 2 ways. You can select them on a 1-step process or a 2-step process. The 1-step process is basically you put out the bids, the specifications, and you want the price, and it's kind of like a competitive bidding. Or you can do the 2-step process, which is basically qualifications, competence, rank them, negotiate price, bring back the top offerer to the school board for approval. And you basically select the one that gives you, quote unquote, the best value for the school district. The construction manager at risk is going to be then responsible for all of your subcontractors. And if the subcontractor cannot perform, then the construction manager at risk can substitute, and that company can perform the particular subcontractor that may that may not be able to perform a particular tasks. And the next one is the design build. The design build is basically, as the name implies, you have one contract for an engineer and a contractor. But realize that the school district will have to have, because the law requires, an independent engineer or independent contractor to basically make sure that what the design build firm is doing is according to the specifications. So this is where you can run into kind of maybe double costs, right? And the evaluation is going to be based on, qualifications and competence. And then the same two-step process applies that I talked about earlier. The job order contracts is one that is used for small recurring projects. I don't see that in the scope of your broad projects. That's something that I don't think it's going to be too attractive. That's kind of for just minor projects, and obviously what you have out there, I wouldn't consider minor. I don't think they're pretty big. And I included here kind of like all of these things that I talked about, so that you could have it in terms of your delivery methods, your competitive bidding, competitive sale proposals, design build, job order contracts. So that's something that you have there. Obviously, not going to go over that, but it has the pros and cons and when it's best suited and least suited for you. And last but not least, wrapping up, is just to reiterate, if it's $50,000 or more, you obviously need to do some type of procurement process, and you have to make sure that you determine which is your construction method that you're going to use, and then once the board approves that construction method, then the bids or the proposals, the RFQs, the RFPs are let out. In terms of advertisement, yes, we have to advertise in the general newspaper. As much as possible, you want to be as competitive out there and receive as many bids as possible. And you can, in addition to, price, which is going to be, depending on the construction method that you use, you can, put out there in terms of experience, reputation, quality of goods, the, impact of the abilities to comply with any historically underutilized businesses, the safety record, so on and so forth. So, all these things will be part of your bid specifications when you kind of put it out there. So that is the presentation. Are there any questions on this?
Do they have that slide deck?
It wasn't there.
I don't think it was in. I will send that via Connections Friday. Yes.
All right, any other questions? All right, that was report only, no board action needed.
Thank you, Juan.
All right, thank you. Good night.
Good night.
The next item we have is to discuss and consider approval of TM Education Foundation donations and grants.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, what a terrific event tonight. I'm going to turn it over to our president of the TM Education Foundation, Lawrence Wilcox, for some his
Fantastic to see you again. We brought a few board members. Please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Nikki Horman. I'm the executive director.
I'm Melinda Arriaga, and I am vice president.
Jennifer Vella, and a new board member.
Okay. Well, at least once a year we come to y'all and we have our grant process. All these grants are used for innovative teaching projects to get programs and things that the teachers need, help them become the best teacher to help our kids. The grant application review committee is comprised of 3 of the directors, and we were able to look through, we had 31 grants submitted this year, and then there are 31 proposed grants, and we're able to fund 23 of those grants. So, we are very pleased, here we go, to present to the school. Here you go, the Vanna Whites of the world. We are, have a check paid out for $58,858. This is our start, or the end of our 20th year that the Education Foundation's been helping teachers at Tulsa Midway. And after this award right here, since 2005, we have been able to give the school district and the teachers over $900,000 in grants. You know, the range is on what we fund is really quite crazy. I mean, it's all kinds of stuff. But really, it's a competition, so the teachers put together proposals, they're rated, and it's a competition. It's the best grants are able to get the money. And this year, we did much better. COVID, we struggled with between getting enough grants and having, we like to see 20, 30, 40. We've had up to 80 grants submitted before. And we had a good year. We were able to fund the vast majority, a good piece of them. And we look forward to seeing you next year with another program. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I'm gonna be back there. I gotta stay on the Education Foundation side.
It felt so short.
Kim, you want,
Yes.
President, you want to get in the middle?
How are you doing? Everybody in? All right. 1, 2, and 3. Got you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys again. Keep up the good work.
Y'all keep up the great work.
Okay?
Yeah, you get a thing. Any idea when we're going to have our parade?
You will give us the days that work best for y'all, and just give us some notice, and keep it all, just so you know, the prize parade's kept a secret until the day we go out and start handing out the grants to the teachers.
So why don't you join us in, are you going to be here in the morning? Yes. I'll have all the principals, so we can probably hang out with you.
I know y'all work around texting and everything else y'all have to deal with, so, but we'll be there whenever y'all are ready.
Okay.
Okay, thank you guys very much, take care.
Thank you. Madam President, Mr. Vice President, members of the board, it is the administration's recommendation that the board approve and accept the donations for grants for $58,853.63 as presented.
Do we have a motion?
Make that motion.
Paul Stella,
And I'll second that motion.
second by Kim. All those in favor? Carry 6-0, right? Is that the right number?
We're good.
All right. Next item on the agenda is to discuss and consider approval of out-of-state field trip request for TM High School to attend the Thespian Festival in Bloomington, Indiana from June 23rd through June 29th, 2024.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, we have our high school principal and our theater arts director here to make a presentation.
Ms. Preston?
Yes, I have several of the students here with me as well. I know you recognize them back in the fall, but I brought several of them. Several of them are competing right now at Harvard. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I'll move over a little bit. There's a lot of them. We went to the Texas State Thespian Festival in San Antonio this past November, and we're super pleased that we had one of the largest groups that we've ever had qualify for nationals. Of 15 students qualified for nationals this year. And in addition, we had 4 of them make main stage callbacks, which was more than any other school at the festival. And one of ours actually ended up on main stage. We would love the opportunity to go and represent Tolosa Midway at the National Festival. It's been great to us. We've had the opportunity to get scholarships for students, including Adam Flores, who's now at UT. He's majoring in theater, and he was able to get a $6,000 scholarship. And he also has a professional mentor who's working in the industry right now. We would love that same opportunity for these students. In addition, Laird last year was able to work with the head of Penn State, and Joe Iconis, who's a Broadway producer, a Broadway writer of Be More Chill. These kids have had an amazing opportunity to go to nationals. A couple of them made perfect scores last year, Michaela Wong and Hannah Henderson. They got to walk the red carpet last year and get one of the most esteemed honors at the International Festival. In addition to competing, they'll get the chance, if they want to audition, tour the university, see like wonderful shows from across the United States, and attend workshops that they will use constantly and bring back to the students here at Tolosa Midway. So that is my proposal, and I hope that you guys will see to it that these students get to go to nationals this year.
Hannah, I loved the Shakespeare interpretation. Did you see it?
No. It was just sent to you. We'll share it with everyone. Or do you want her to dress up and address the board?
You have to see it.
I think it needs to come to the board.
I think they should all.
That's a great idea.
Shakespeare's birthday, maybe.
Great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, we're the Beatles.
Are the Beatles here? The Beatles are here.
Right? Yeah.
How many members of the Beatles were here? One,
We have,
two, I know
we have three of the members, and then we
Okay.
also have our Justin Bieber.
Justin Bieber's here.
Who is very popular. He sold out.
this shows you how young they are. Whoever was playing Ringo had a guitar instead of drum.
They all had a guitar.
That's awesome.
Were you any questions? Or?
Oh, yeah, any questions? Anybody have any questions or comments?
The only thing I wanted to say was on the paperwork, we didn't circle approval again for the, I guess, the tiering post Ms. Pratt. So that needs to be completed.
Formality
Yeah.
of the approvals down the list. I have the signatures, but not the approvals.
Oh, okay.
We can get that.
Okay.
It's just a minor formality.
Okay.
But I think it's a wonderful opportunity, as it has been in the past. You know, I've always shown what we have, what y'all have. And I'm very proud of each and every one of y'all.
And the mentors that they are to the younger kids, because I know that y'all work with the younger kids at the middle school, and y'all make a big impact on that program down there also. So kudos to y'all for working with those kids, because those kids are going to follow up in y'all's footsteps, right? So the program continues to grow, so that's awesome. So congrats to all of y'all.
Thank you.
No other questions?
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, it is the administration's recommendation that the board approve the out-of-state field trip request for TM High School to attend the Thespian Festival in Bloomington, Indiana on June 23rd to the 29th, 2024, as presented.
You have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Second by Ben. All those in favor? Carries 6-0.
Congratulations.
Thank Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Have fun.
Don't break a leg.
We're gonna try. We're gonna try all we can.
That's right.
Thank you.
All right, Jacob, you need a red one?
All right, the next agenda item is to discuss and consider approval of the Simbar Special Purpose Foreign Trade Zone, number 122.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, we have representatives, I believe, from Simbar and the Port of Corpus Christi to make a...
Corpus Christi,
Regional Economic Development Corporation.
so we have Mike Culberson and Brittany.
Mike, you always stay in the back, don't you, Mike?
He'll be joining us today.
Good.
I'm ready.
I sent you some information on Friday regarding the request for a letter to support the foreign trade zone designation for Simbar. Briefly, they purchased Baker Hughes, which TM had done a similar letter of support. So having said that, I'm going to turn it over. If you could introduce yourself, and we'll go from there. Thanks for being here.
Very good. Thank you for your time. Again, my name's David Henrik. I'm president of Simbar Oil and Gas. With me today is Joe Garcia. He's our area manager. Danielle Converse is manager of FTZ at Port of Corpus Christi. Of course, Danielle and Mike Culberson, or Brittany and Mike Culberson are here as well. So, an introduction to Simbar. Simbar is a leading supplier of barium sulfate established in 1914. Simbar is globally recognized as a critical mineral supplier and produces industrial minerals at 12 sites in the U.S. The plant in Corpus Christi produces ground barite suitable for use in oil field applications. The slideshow below details our plant locations and the mineral portfolio for each plant. The plant in Corpus Christi exclusively produces for oil field applications. The barite ore arrives by ship at Port of Corpus Christi and is delivered by truck to our facility. It's basically a gravel to a large 8-inch rock size material. I don't know if you're all aware of it. It's a big pile of ore. The ore is then processed in our plant into a fine powder for use in drilling fluids. Ground products are then shipped to South and West Texas by truck and rail car to various customers. Barite is inert, chemically non-reactive, acid insoluble, and very heavy, which makes it ideal as a weighting agent for food. Barite has been identified as a critical mineral to the U.S. economy and U.S. national security by the Department of Defense as well, for use in production of hydrocarbons. The plant is located at 322 Manning Road, near Highway 44, near the Corpus Christi International Airport. September 2020, Simbar acquired Baker Hughes facility at 322 Manning Road. Baker Hughes operated as FTZ subzone, but the designation was terminated after acquisition. Simbar is reapplying for subzone status to access the available benefits under the FTZ benefit. With that, Danielle.
Thank you. How do I advance the slides? Great. Thank you for everyone for having us tonight. My name is Danielle Converse. I work for the Port of Corpus Christi, and I am the Foreign Trade Zone Manager. I'm going to give you a pretty high-level overview of this federal program, so that you'll have a better understanding of the benefits that companies such as Simbar will receive. So first of all, what is a foreign trade zone? It's a geographically designated area that's in the United States, but for customs duties purposes, it's considered outside U.S. commerce. And that is the benefit that gives companies such as Simbar and the other foreign trade zone operators in our area competitiveness with overseas manufacturers and warehousing. It's overseen by two federal departments, the Department of Commerce, which is where the Foreign Trade Zones Board operates under, and then the Department of Homeland Security. Once a site is designated a foreign trade zone, it is then turned over to Customs for supervision. Customs' role is to ensure that the federal government gets all of the duties and taxes that it is due. So Customs is very interested in maintaining the security of these facilities because they don't want any of that merchandise being stolen or damaged. The Port of Corpus Christi is the grantee in this program, and no company can access the program without the sponsorship of a grantee. So the Port of Corpus Christi serves as the grantee, not just in Nueces County, but I'll show you in a minute, we have a much larger area. And one of the benefits of the Foreign Trade Zone Act, and this is something that was implemented by Congress in 1934 when they implemented the Foreign Trade Zones Act, is an exemption from state and local ad valorem taxes. So it's not everything. It is just merchandise that is imported into the foreign trade zone or domestic merchandise that is slated to be exported from the United States. And these are some of the benefits that you see if you operate a foreign trade zone. You can defer duties. Duties are just a tax that the government assesses on goods that are imported into the United States. One of the benefits is if they're imported into a foreign trade zone, they aren't taxed until they enter U.S. commerce. So in other words, until that warehouse, distributor, or manufacturer actually sends it into our economy, they don't have to pay the duties on that. So that allows companies to keep some cash flow up front to focus on other things. Another benefit is duty elimination. If a good is imported into a foreign trade zone and then exported out of the United States, the duties are never owed. By the same token, if it's imported into the United States and manufactured or processed or put into a kit, it could also have a lower duty rate when it leaves the foreign trade zone. And I'll give you an example of that. And that's what we call duty reduction or an inverted tariff. For example, if I'm a car manufacturer, I buy tires from, say, India, and by the way, these are all fictitious. I have no idea where car manufacturers buy these things. Batteries from India, chassis from Germany. Each of those items that I, as a manufacturer, am importing into the United States has a different duty rate, which is established by the federal government. I put them all together and I build a car. Well, the duty rate on a whole car may be 2%, while the duties on all these individual components can range anywhere from 0 to 5 to 10%, depending on the items. So a foreign trade zone operator has the option of paying the duty of the products as they come into the zone or on the finished product as it enters our economy. So that's a great benefit for manufacturing. This is just an example of across the United States. It does not include Puerto Rico. There are 4 foreign trade zones in Puerto Rico as well. These are where foreign trade zones are located across our country. And many of you have probably heard the term of a free trade zone. Similar, but different. This is only for U.S. companies. And this is our 7-county service area. So, Foreign Trade Zone 122, each of us has a number designated by the federal government. Port of Corpus Christi, in my role, oversee the 7-county service area. Currently, we only have foreign trade zone operators in Nueces County and San Patricio County. And you can see on the right the list of the companies that are using the benefits of this program to stay competitive with overseas manufacturers. And you'll also see on here, if you look at the bottom, Cimbar, Superior Weighting, and Halliburton. So this will make 4 barite processing facilities in our region. The Superior and Halliburton, all of them are designated under the Foreign Trade Zones program. And as Dave mentioned, when they acquired Baker Hughes, that status terminated, and so they're seeking to renew. I'm going to talk a little bit about the impacts of the Foreign Trade Zones program on our region. As you can see here, over $20.9 billion in merchandise was received in the year 2022. All of these numbers are from 2022. Right here in our area, which to me is astounding. That's a lot of merchandise coming in. We have 8 active production operations. Production means manufacturing. So we have 8 companies utilizing the Foreign Trade Zones program that are manufacturing. And they're providing over 5,700 full-time direct employees. And the other benefit of the Foreign Trade Zones program is it helps attract foreign and U.S. investment in our region. And there's some international companies here. They were listed on the other screen, and it's great when we have foreign companies and U.S. companies investing in our infrastructure and improving our economy. So why are we here before you? Well, certain states still have an inventory tax, and Texas is one of those states. Texas, Louisiana, Arizona, Louisiana, and Puerto Rico. And if a state, or if a taxing entity is going to be impacted by this foreign trade zone designation, the company seeking foreign trade zone designation must get with each taxing authority who will be impacted and get a letter of concurrence or non-objection. Stating that that taxing entity is aware that this company will be exempt from certain ad valorem taxes and that the taxing authority either supports or does not object to that. And that is the heart of the reason why Cimbar is here for you today. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to David, and he's going to share with you some of the benefits that SIMBAR would receive as a result of this program.
Thank you. SIMBAR operates in a very competitive industry, facing extreme pressures from imported fish foods, primarily manufactured in Mexico. Exports from Mexico has continued to rise, negatively impacting demand at SIMBAR and overall production requirements. In fact, year over year, we're down about 40% from where we were a year ago as far as the plant tonnage being produced. And again, most of that is due to Mexico. SIMBAR's ability to defer duty payment and imported raw materials and manufacture goods under FTZ procedures to take advantage of the inverted tariff benefit afforded by the program assists SIMBAR in maintaining competitiveness and supports U.S. manufacturing. The ability to leverage federally available exemption from ad valorem tax, tangible personal property, would further support SIMBAR's competitiveness and future viability of SIMBAR's operation at the site. The spotlight on the Mexico imports that we discussed. In 2022, Mexico exported 302,000 metric tons of barite. 88% was shipped into the U.S. market, mostly delivered by truck and rail car into South and West Texas. In 2023, Mexico exports increased by 126,000 metric tons, up nearly 40% year over year. And over 90% shipped into the U.S. market. As shown on the graph below in blue, Mexico imports into the U.S. are at record levels. And even though the market was down 20% in 2023 and down 11% in the Permian Basin. SIMBAR is making every effort to lower our plant costs and remain competitive with Mexico imports. We urgently need tariff and tax relief to help lower our costs and put SIMBAR on an equal footing with Mexico imports and other companies in the foreign trade zone. Currently in the foreign trade zone. Primary FTZ benefits available to SIMBAR under the FTZ Act are duty referral when goods are stored in the FTZ, inverted tariff benefits on goods manufactured in the FTZ with approved production authority, and exemption from state and local ad valorem taxes on certain tangible property, i.e. inventory, as Danielle discussed. The exemption from state and local ad valorem taxes is permitted by the Foreign Trade Zones Act. While the exemption is permitted under the Act, for the limited number of states that continue to maintain an inventory tax, the FTZ Board requires a letter of concurrence or support from each of the impacted taxing authorities in support of the project and acknowledging the exemption. The 10-year impact report without inventory for Tuloso, Midway, and SIMBAR. If you look at the amount of jobs, employment created, we have 12 direct jobs with 7.6 spinoff jobs with an average salary of $50,000, basically. So in a year, that's almost $1 million, and of course, $9.7 million over 10 years in salaries. Capital investment was $825,000. And if you look at the net impact or net benefit, it's $173,000 for Tuloso Midway. And the present value is $132,760, and that's primarily due to capital investment. Going forward. Mike, you want to discuss anything?
No, I think we're good. We want to check to see what questions you have.
I've got a lot of additional information.
So
So basically, you'd be giving up, you know, on the inventory tax, which, you know, as you can see, so you have M&O, right? Your M&O is what, 0.76 this time, and in INS? 16. Yeah, you're not getting the M&O, right? This is coming in and going back out the door. But the INS, when you take a look at it, they were at 4 million, but they're probably gonna be sitting around 2.6, about 3. So it's like less than $5,000 a year that you would have that. And you know, the importance of having a manufacturer in here with higher than average wages is, cannot be understated. The head of the Dallas Fed was down here about 2 months ago, and she was like, I am so happy to see that Corpus Christi region, which is the MSA, Aransas, San Patricio, and Nueces, is finally even with the state average in average hourly wage. First time it's happened forever since Kenny opened a store. I mean, it was been a long time, and it's manufacturing jobs. So, you know, we the EDC, you know, certainly support this and be happy to answer any questions. And I think you can see, you know, they took this thing was closed, it was gone. They came in here, started it back up, and they're ready to go. But, you know, it's a difficult time. You know, Mexico is putting a lot of stuff into the United States cheaper. And, you know, we need the benefits, and this benefit has been there, you know, 1934. So, any questions? We'd be happy to answer.
I just have one question. Are you working from an existing building already?
Yes, so you already have a building and they're what, 800,000, so you're receiving.
835,000.
Yeah, you are receiving taxes on that already. Well.
And you'll continue that.
Yeah.
Well,
that
we're
is
adding
when-
500,000.
Yeah.
Right, so.
So they're putting another 500 into it to get it up.
This is primarily for the rail facilities, I guess, that exist at the establishment.
Well, the processing facilities, loaders, handling equipment, buildings, things of that nature.
But the trade part is through rail, is that?
No, all our product comes in by ship into the Port
Okay.
of Corpus Christi. So then we process that
And then it's
product.
trucked over.
And then it's trucked or railed out to our customers in South and West Texas.
Okay.
As a powder.
Got it.
Have any of the other taxing entities declined to support
No.
this?
No, we've had a lot of support, actually. And we appreciate it. We need it. You know, that data's from the Mexico Customs data, right? So it is what it is, so. But we need your help, hopefully, so. We appreciate the time and meeting with you.
So David, what
Yeah.
would it take to have like one or two TM students intern at an admin level at Simbar?
Well, make the request and we can look at that. You gotta realize we're manufacturing, so a lot of entry-level jobs are very manual labor, this, that, and the other. We have operators, we have lab techs, things of that nature, right? A lot of admin type things, but a lot of it is you're exposed to the elements. It's noisy, dirty, dusty, and pretty tough jobs, most of them. There's a couple office jobs, lab tech, and of course, do you have anything to add to that, Joe? Joe runs 3 of our facilities here in Corpus, so he can attest to that. Did I leave anything out?
No, I'd like to add that, I'll have to get the name of the program back to you, but the court does have limited high school internships available in admin. So I know currently we have a human resources intern from Gregory Portland, so I'll be glad to follow up with all of you to let you know about how that mechanism works.
Are there any other questions or comments?
So our request is, again, seeking a letter of concurrence from taxing entities in support of the FTZ application to receive designation as subzone by the U.S. Foreign Trade Zones Board in Zone 122. And we have a sample letter of concurrence in the packet as well. And if there's any other questions.
I'd just like to add one more thing. As far as the companies getting this designation, we cannot even submit their application to the Foreign Trade Zones Board until we have all of the letters. And so that is why we're really early in the process, and it's kind of a domino effect. And so once we obtain all of the letters of concurrence at that time, SIMBAR will be able to apply. So thank you so much for your consideration.
Yes. Thank you. Any, good?
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, it is the administration's recommendation that the board approve the support of the proposed FTZ designation for SIMBAR Resources, Inc., and recommends expedited review and approval of the application as presented.
Ben makes a motion.
Ben made it.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Mr. Stella seconds it. All those in favor? Vote carries 6-0.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll get that out to
Thank you very much. We
you
appreciate your
tomorrow.
time.
Thank you. Thank y'all.
Thank y'all for your time.
All right, next action item is report, goal number 1, mid-year review.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board were excited to present some data to you this evening. As you know, ACC tested, predominantly retesters, and we have their data. Ms. McLaren's here and Dr. White. But at Tulsa Midway High School, we compressed the English 1 and the Algebra 1 curriculum into a semester. And subsequently, we're going to show you those results as they compare to what it looked like for first-timers doing spring. The huge advantage of doing that is for those who were not successful and met the standard, they are back in that class with their teacher or someone that has the equivalency to be their teacher, and they have very prescriptive instruction versus we're having tutoring at 4 o'clock, come if you want. The second huge advantage is it opens other doors for them to take other classes, whether it's TSI support or Warpath Academy, dual credit, concurrent enrollment. And we're just really pleased with the results. This is the 8th year I've done this, and this is the best data that I've seen in doing this. We have a lot of talent at both of our campuses. Mr. Alvarado?
Hello and good evening. Before we get started, I want to introduce the people that kind of make the work happen here. So we have Ms. Cardenas here, who's our assistant principal for curriculum instruction, Ms. Stacy Lucas, who's in charge of student support services, and Ms. Priscilla Vega, who's in charge of discipline, attendance, and student safety. And of course, Ms. Iris Chapo over there, who kind of oversees all of testing. We're going to give you a quick review of what our STAR scores were, remind you of kind of what things, how students are rated in that system. So first, students, when they take a STAR test, are assigned based on their score to fit into one of these 4 categories. Did not meet grade level, approaches grade level, which is considered passing, meets grade level, which means they are at the appropriate grade level, and then master's grade level, they are performed above. Okay, so we're going to show you, our next slide is how they compare to last year's testers. So these are students, we're comparing students who took the full year curriculum and tested in May, or in the spring, and then those students who tested in December. Okay, so I don't know if you can see all that, but we're gonna go from there. So in the very first, we have how students did with English 1 in the spring of 23. So they went through the whole entire curriculum, and they had 16.8% of that class failed. Okay, so after our December testing, we only had 14% fail. So actually compressing English 1 into a shorter amount of time actually helped. Our students outperformed the students who took it all year last year. With Algebra 1, you'll see our grades. We had 21.5% of the students who took it in the spring of 23 who failed, and it dropped to 16.3% this year when they took it again. So as we go up, we see how they did at the approaches standard, the meets, and the masters. Keep in mind that when we're talking about our English 1 testers, this does not include all of our honors English kids. So we expect those students to score at least at meets and to masters. So we have 68 students who will be taking the test for the very first time as an honor student, so they should expect great things from them as well. But as you can see, we have done extremely well compared to the previous year's administration by compressing the curriculum into a semester.
Mr. Alvarado?
Yes.
The data for the spring testers does include those gifted and talented students, correct?
So despite that, we still outscored them as well. So we're gonna, the next slide kind of, yes.
Sorry, I'm a little behind. So our honors classes are not compressed?
Our honors English 1 class is not compressed.
Okay.
It is the full term. So we were talking about possible what ifs. So if scores were to include the English 1 students over the pass rate would jump to 87.8%, which would be a 4.6% increase from the previous year. If students who are, so what we did next is we took students' scores and we said if they were within 4 questions, which is a reasonable amount to make up if you're in this type of prescriptive tutoring, Mr. Van Matry said, where you're getting basically the curriculum all over again and help with what you actually need. We expect about a 3 to 4 question swing. If we were to get that, then our pass rate would jump to 94% passing, which would be like a world record for us by a lot. That would be an increase of 10.4%. So if we were to get those students within 4 questions to the promised land, then we'd be at a 94% pass rate, which would be amazing.
Yeah.
Never, ever done before. So that's with English 1. With Algebra 1, it's a little different because those honors kids did test. So if students were within 4 questions, we would jump to a 95% pass rate for Algebra 1, which is unheard of anywhere probably in this region. And that would be a net increase of 11.3%. So those students who were not successful in STAR are currently in a class the rest of this semester, sharpening their skills and getting ready for the Algebra 1 test, which will occur in late April, early May. Actually, early May. So the English 1 test, though, have a little shorter time. They're testing in April. But all in all, great results. We couldn't have been happier with what they're doing. And Ms. Manager said there is, the bonus of what these kids are doing now. We were able to convince Coastal Bend College to hire, to give us a mini-mester. So we have several students taking advantage of that. They are currently, right now, TSI prepping. Every student who's in these categories is taking the TSI test in February 28th will be their day. If they pass their TSI test, then the entire college book opens to them, so they're able to take whatever course they might need. If they are unsuccessful, they're still able to take the college course that Coastal Bend is offering them. So we have several students taking advantage of that. Those students that failed or that passed also have the choice to say, you know what, I'm not ready for a college class yet. So in lieu of that, they'll be doing Apex to make up a credit, which will allow them their senior year to take that college class. So they'll just be substituting one year for another. Most of our students have chosen to take either world geography or world history. Some have chosen to take environmental systems. But all in all, I think this is a huge benefit to our kids. They will get to make room in their schedule for, as we're adding new programs, the practicum piece of that's going to eat 2 or 3 periods is going to become an issue for them. This allows them to kind of knock that credit out, which allows them to have their senior year to be able to afford to take a 3-period class if they need to, if we get to that point. So all in all, really pleased with our results. Our teachers, you know, when you tell teachers you're gonna teach everything that you taught in a year, in a semester, it kind of freaked them out. You know, kudos to them. They did the job and they did it well. Any questions?
So we just had the public hearing on taper, so when we have that next year, it's for all the testing that occurred throughout the school year, right? Not just the May testing? Okay, so we would see these 90.
You'll see that, yes.
Okay.
It's exciting, very exciting.
Shoot for the sky, you'll make it.
Yes, sir.
Super good job.
Yes.
Ms. McLaren, you have ACC?
I do. Our focus, of course, is very different from the high school. We're used to compressing our instruction into short amounts of time. Also, at our school, what we're looking for is to try to get kids to pass because so many of them are trying to graduate within their 4-year cohort. So we're getting them, and we know that we have December and then spring to get those tests passed in order for them to graduate with their class. We had a remarkable testing time in December. We have some really great results. There are a couple of other things that I think need to be pointed out, and you'll see it on my slides. We have a large population of special ed 504 and ESL students. The easy way out for especially our special ed kids is to very quickly say, we're going to accept their scores. You know, they didn't pass, but we're going to accept their scores. We believe that the kids need to have every opportunity they can to pass these tests. We work on their confidence. We work on making sure that they know they are as capable as anyone else of passing these tests. And I think that our results this year, or I'm sorry, in December, specifically allowed us to have some really, really great results with our kids.
The arrow.
This way?
Yeah, but the arrow button. You see the arrow button? It's down right there.
Okay. English 1 star, we had a total of 11 students who tested, and out of those, 8 students passed for 73% passing, which is excellent for our kids. Out of those, we had 1 ESL student who passed, 1 504 student that passed, and 2 special ed students that passed. So again, if we can get these kids to believe in themselves and we can work really hard individually with them to let them know that they can do this, we're seeing tremendous results. The next one is our English 2. This is kind of the thorn in our side. Some of these were first-time testers, but we were very happy because English 2 is a difficult test. It also was part of the redesign. So to have 35% of our students pass, including 1 ESL and 1 special ed student, it was such a great win for us. We're so thrilled and very, very happy with what our kids were able to accomplish in English 2. In Algebra 1, we had 10 students who took the test and 5 that passed it. Again, 2 special ed students and 1 504 student passed. One of the things that also is not shown, and I would have to go back and calculate all of that data. One of the things that our teachers point out often is because of the way we get students, many of the students who tested in December were only with us 1 or 2 weeks. So we had not had any opportunity. They come in at all times, and we got quite a number right before the Christmas holiday, which was right at testing time. So those teachers did not have a chance to even hardly work with those students before we took the test. So some of those that didn't pass, we feel certain are close enough that we'll get them passing by spring. In biology, and I know this was the case with biology, we had 6 students who tested, 2 that passed. One of those was a special ed student. But we know that at least 2 of those other 4 students came in right before, and I know the teacher was like, you know, it looks like I didn't do my job, and I'm like, no, we know that student got here 2 weeks or a week before the test. We understand those things because we always take those things into consideration. Probably our greatest, definitely our greatest results were in U.S. history. We had 82% of our students pass. We had 17 students take the test, and 14 of those, or 82% of them, passed it. We had 1 ESL, 3 special ed, and 1 504 student. 82% is amazing, especially when you consider that with U.S. history, most of these kids were first-time testers. We get the kids from high school, and generally the one test they have not taken is the U.S. history test. And we had 82% of those kids pass. So we were really, really excited. And just so that you can see, these are of our current enrollment. We're so proud of our kids because they come to us, and regardless of where they are, if we can just get them to believe in themselves and give them that individual attention they need, we've been able to see some tremendous results from these kids, and we're really, really happy with everything that's going on at our campus. Any questions?
And Lamar, as part of this report, you oversee the Compass Academy.
Yes, sir.
We had our first graduate. Can you say a few words on where we're at there with optional flexible day?
So we currently have 19 students in the Compass Academy. These are students who are STAR ready, that are either juniors or seniors, who need probably anywhere starting at about 12 credits to graduate. But they're still in either welding or they're doing phlebotomy and EKG. They're still wanting to stay on our campus. So what we do with this program is they're allowed to the optional flexible school day. So as they earn their credits through APEX, they're able to slowly get closer to graduation and graduate early. Our first graduate was a senior. His name is Adrian Velasquez. And he started with us when we came back in January. He had 12 credits that he needed to get done, and he finished those credits in 3 weeks. He had been working at Domino's in the evenings. He quit his job at Domino's so that he could work at home and on the weekends. And Coach Fig was still helping with unlocking assignments and things like that. He would email on the weekends. He would email till about 10 o'clock at night. I'm ready for this test. And he just worked his heart out, and he saw the light at the end of that tunnel, and he knew that he had to get done, get out, and he went back home to El Campo with his dad. His dad owns a concrete company, and so now he's over back in El Campo working with his dad. He did the College Bridge program as well, and he did the College Bridge, both English and math and the writing portion in 3 days. So if you're unfamiliar with the Texas College Bridge, that's just replacing the TSI. If the students are unsuccessful with TSI, or sometimes they have that test anxiety, sitting in a 3 to 5 hour test, they're able to do the Texas College Bridge, which is completely on their own. They do have to maintain a 90%. So a lot of times what they would do is they would just go in, they would get some refresher, do some reviews, take the tests, and then they would have to also write the essay. So I shared the essay. I didn't bring the essay. I can share that with you all, but his essay talked about his dad with his TSI. So it's a really great story. We're really proud of him. So, yep.
Good. Questions? Good. It's report only.
With this freshman class, when they go to English 2, are we looking to compress that as well or no?
Yeah. So English 2, like Ms. McLaren said, is its own little animal. We do plan next year, though, for our kids who are taking honors, English 1, they'll test in December and move straight into English 2 honors, test in May, and then start 1301 English at TAMUK as a sophomore. So that they will be completely done with English at the end of their sophomore year. And if they choose to continue with a 2000 level English course, we'll have to discuss that with TAMUK. It's not currently on our MOU, but we have to make sure those kids are wanting to go to TAMUK, because that one does not transfer. So they'll finish 1301 and 1302 at the end of their
Oh, it
sophomore
doesn't
year.
even transfer to a different university?
The
Not
2301.
2000 levels.
Right. So we have to make double sure that they're okay. But if not,
Yeah, I
then,
wouldn't.
if not, then we can put them through technical writing or something else,
Yeah.
especially if their degree plan calls for that.
On the 19 students, does the outlook seem positive for them to graduate this year?
Oh, absolutely. I've got 2 that are on track right now that are juniors that they will probably be done. Probably we're hoping by next 6 weeks. We've changed their schedules so where they're sitting in Apex courses throughout the day, unless they're in a tested subject like our juniors who are taking the U.S. history, they have to sit in person with the actual certified teacher for the U.S. history test. But other than that, they're in Apex, which could be easily 6 periods a day, and they are rolling through these credits. So I'm hoping I've got 2 that should be done by next 6 weeks.
So, but the purpose of coming to the academy, is it to finish, they're juniors and seniors?
Juniors and seniors. So some of them want to finish early. They're not going to college. They don't want to take college courses. They are going a different pathway. Some of them just need to get out there to get to work for other purposes. So they're all different. Some of them are coming to us with attendance. They don't want to come to school because they don't want to be in certain classes. And so this is just another avenue for them to get to school so that they can be here. So a lot of times when they are absent, we're not getting that monetary fund for them. So if they're here for those 1,200 minutes for the week, then we're able to get that entire monetary money for them for the entire week. So if they're absent one day, but they've made their hours, then that helps alleviate some of that pressure. Because some of them, when we were talking to them, said, I don't come on some days because I work till 2, I just can't get up, or I have to pick up a shift on Friday, so I don't come to school on Friday because I've got to pick up a shift. This is that flexible school day for them that they're able to still come, be a graduate, and still be successful.
A little off agenda, but will those students have the opportunity to go to the May graduation?
Yes, they are still, even though, and we extended the offer to Adrian, just because you graduated now, you're still able to walk the stage. And that's another thing we do with them. We, communities and schools on our campus, I got with them, we've got his cap and gown. He wants to come to prom. If everything that a senior can do, they're able to do.
Stuff, all right, anything else?
Report.
All right, yeah, that was report only, no board action either.
Thank you all.
All right, the next agenda item is discuss and consider renewal of district property liability, auto, and windstorm insurance.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes, it's the time of year, most of our insurance stuff renews on March the 1st. I have with me here from Carlisle Insurance, Chase Carlisle. You have all the information that was in the packet. This year was not a significant increase like last year was, or like the previous 2 or 3 years have been. One thing that does drive up the cost is we are constantly increasing our insured values because, it's impossible for us to insure 100% replacement value. We can't afford that. But we do try to keep, as inflation and other things factors, we do try to increase the values. So we did increase the values on our properties about $25 million. We're still not at anywhere near replacement cost. But that does drive the impact on the increase in the premium. I'm going to let, if y'all have any questions, but I'm also going to let Mr. Carlisle just kind of go off what's happened in the market and where we are today as far as this type of coverage.
Sorry, just a quick question before you get started. In the past, when y'all have passed a bond and you've been building, putting new turf on fields and building new buildings, yes, we can't cover it 100%, but we also don't want to put up a, multi-million-dollar facility and not be able to cover it if it burned down the next day. So in the past, have y'all because I don't know what y'all have
I
done in
would
the
say
past.
when
Have y'all
when we
upped your
put something on
coverage?
when we put something on initially, we put on what it costs today, like last year, the scoreboard, $750,000, we put it on there and we valued it at $750,000, because that was, but I would say the high school that was built 40 years ago, it only cost, I can't tell you what it costs, but it would cost 15 times more to replace it now. So it's really our older buildings that we're gradually increasing those insured values to get them back up to. But I would say, when we put a new building on, we put it on at the cost at that time, the whatever it costs to construct it at that time.
Okay.
And then, over time, even things like, the ag barn, it's like 7 or 8 years old. We might need to increase that a little bit because it's gonna cost, it would cost more to replace that now.
Okay.
But we're nowhere near 100%. Like I said, there'd be absolutely no way we could afford 100% of replacement costs.
That was kind of my question too, like, where does the 25 million come from, the 26, who came up with that number?
We look at, it's really per square foot also. We take whatever the value was that we had on last year, and we look at our square foot, and we really kind of try to get that cost per square foot closer to that replacement cost. I can't say that we have like a set formula.
If you don't mind, I'll jump in real quick. Good evening. So we do use a third-party firm called Edwards Risk Management. Edwards Risk Management handles all the claims for the PCAP program as well. But on an annual basis, they are providing us the property valuations. And they do that for the 210 members across the entire state. They use a software system called Marshall Swift Beck. So every district's buildings are input in that system, and a number comes out based on what the replacement cost of that building would be by zip code for that area. So like Mr. Carroll said, I think I was looking at earlier, the high school, for example, even with the 12% increase in valuations that they recommended this year, it just puts it at $250 a square foot. High schools nowadays that we're seeing being added on are closer to $500 a square foot. So there is some science behind it, but again, like he said, we can't come in here and all of a sudden increase or double your values, or all of a sudden your insurance doubles in cost as well. Ready for my spiel?
Yeah.
Okay.
John, any more questions?
So like you said, last year was probably the worst the market's seen in the last 40 years. When we look at property insurance, and that's not our focus because that's the majority of y'all's cost here because your values are so high. It's very cyclical, and it's a cyclical driven market, and it's driven by the natural disasters. We refer to them as soft and hard markets. Soft markets meaning the rates are coming down, deductibles are coming down. We're not seeing a lot of storm activity, and it's a favorable environment for the consumer. Opposite of that being the hard market, which we've been in since 2017. 2017, we saw the line start trending upwards, and it really hasn't slowed down. We've gone through a global pandemic. NOAA puts out a report every year. Even last year alone, we think, hey, we didn't have really many hurricanes, which we didn't. We had one storm hit Florida, but there were still $25 billion plus weather events that affected the United States, from hail to Maui catching on fire, et cetera, which has a effect on the market. This is a little bit different than when we're trying homeowners insurance. We're insuring close to $234 million of value, so we're looking at global markets here. And what happens globally, not only domestically, but globally, affects the market. So last year, these hard markets usually last between 7 and 10 years. We're in year like 8 or 9 of that market. Last year, even though we did have those 25 storms, what we focus on here is the hurricane aspect. And like I said, there was only one storm that affected the United States last year. So historically looking, for whatever reason, the storms do start slowing down, and I think we're probably at that period now, knock on wood. But we're seeing additional carriers come back in the market. And because of that, we have a more capacity, more availability of insurers to use. So last year when we were seeing 20, 30, 40, 50% rate increases, this year we're seeing 5% rate decreases to upwards of maybe even close to an 8% increase. Teloso's increase on the rate this year was a 2% increase on the rate. So we're trending in the right direction. However, when you compound that with the 12% increase in valuations is where you're getting that $280,000 increase in the premium. And I'd be happy to answer any questions as well. Everything remained the same. You guys bought $50 million worth of coverage last year. It's the same this year. Deductible structure is the same. The There was a few changes in the casualty deductibles, but nothing really significant to even mention, to be honest with you. The bulk of them, like I said, bulk of the premiums in the property insurance, and that's identical to what the board purchased last year.
And I will say, we have cybersecurity insurance, and we also have that renewed to, we're taking a lot of steps for cybersecurity, but we also do have this to help us in case we're have another incident like we had in the past.
I appreciate you being here. When we went through this packet last year, you weren't able to make it. Some of the recommendations we also made last year was, have we gone out for any additional bids from other companies?
I did request another co-op bid, but I did not receive it in time. I did receive another bid for cyber security insurance, but it was significantly higher than what we're getting through Carlisle.
Because we're trying extremely hard to tighten our budget, and yeah, through last year, it's only a $300,000 increase, but compared to 2 years ago, we're up almost a full $1 million on insurance, and that, there's, so you're still waiting on one bid to come back?
No, I mean, this renews on the 1st. I'm not happy with any increase, but, we have pretty comprehensive coverage. And so that's what I'm recommending.
Any other question?
I'm just glad it didn't go up as much as it did last year.
Absolutely.
Me too.
It was a big increase last year.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, it is recommended the board approve the continuation of the district's property, casualty, and educators' legal liability insurance coverage at the stated premium rates totaling $2,532,759 for the coverage period of March 1st, 2024 to March 1st, 2025.
Motion.
I'll make the motion then.
Paul still makes the motion. Anybody second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? All right, vote carries 4-2.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much. Have a good evening.
Do they have the Peaster resolution?
They do.
They do.
Or Chrissy.
All right, the next action item is to discuss and consider approval of a resolution regarding SB 763 regarding chaplains in public schools.
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, Senate Bill 763 requires board action by March 1st, 2024. Over the weekend, after the packet went out, I received an alternative resolution that, quite frankly, I think is very attractive.
It's updated.
And so we have that for your review. And having said that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. White.
With that being said, the new resolution is in front of you. It's very clear, whereas the first one that was sent incorporated other aspects or options for you to choose from. This is very straightforward and matter of fact, and speaks to the option C that was found on the first resolution. And so to me, this is a better version of what we were proposing originally, because it is clear. It doesn't confuse or include anything else other than what's being requested or recommended by administration. And so with that being said, is there any questions about the resolution itself or any of the options or any impact it may have on local policy?
Yeah, just, so over the weekend, me, Mastella, and Ariaga were at the ESC2 conference, where one of the law firms presented this resolution that another school district had adopted. I personally felt that the one provided in our board book was pretty harsh wording, and so I felt more comfortable with this as a friendlier version. It is stating that everything that's currently in GKG local that we have today for our school districts is what we will be maintaining. Yeah.
Plus, I sent it out when I first saw it, my text, so it was like Denise was saying it, and Dr. Watt was saying, this is a little clearer and not as convoluted, should I say.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate Denise's leadership on this. When she brought it to my attention, I kind of read through it and thought, well, you know, but she opened my eyes, so I think that's another good example of, you know, communication and speaking up, so appreciate that. Any other questions, comments?
Yeah, I think this one by far is a better resolution.
All right.
So what, yes, if you will.
Read the resolution. Okay. Resolution of the Board of Trustees of the Tulosa Midway Independent School District. Whereas in accordance with Section 23.001 of the Texas Education Code, the Tulosa Midway Independent School District may employ or accept as volunteer a chaplain to provide support, services, and programs for students as assigned by the administration and the Board of Trustees. And whereas Senate Bill 763 requires a vote to be taken by the Board of Trustees no later than March 1st, 2024, as to whether or not to adopt policy authorizing each campus of the district to employ or accept volunteer chaplains. Whereas the district enacted policy GKG entitled Community Relations School Volunteer Program in accordance with the section 2109 .003, I couldn't think what to call that dot, of the Texas Government Code to govern the district's school volunteer program. And whereas the board recognizes the invaluable contribution to both the emotional and educational development that volunteers under policy GKG provide to the district, including chaplain volunteers. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Board of Trustees of Tulosa Midway Independent School District that the Board of Trustees of Tulosa Midway Independent School District hereby affirms the practice of a district campus permitting a chaplain to volunteer to provide support, services, and programs for students in accordance with the district's existing policy, GKG. It is further resolved that the Board of Tulosa Midway Independent School District expresses its gratitude for all district volunteers, including chaplains, who have applied for and been approved under existing policy, GKG, for the positive impact they have on lives of the student body and the district as a whole. Do we? Next is
a recommendation.
We have a recommendation, right?
Yeah, the administration recommends the resolution as presented.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second by Ms. Stella. All those in favor? All right, carries through. All right. The next item on the agenda is discuss and consider approval of the 2024-2025 TMISD academic calendar.
Dr. White?
Yes, sir. So for this school year, we did a little bit of a different setup as far as just going through DEIC to do both the development and adoption process for the calendar. This year, we introduced what we called the District Calendar Committee. We created an entirely separate and new committee to kind of give new life and a true dedicated space with the committee to handle just the academic calendar. And so we started the process much earlier. We established a timeline for completion. All that was included in the cover letter, so you should have had that information beforehand. But I will say, based on how it went this year compared to years past, it was very smooth. It was a back and forth process that we were able to establish. So the way it ended up turning out was the district calendar committee was primarily responsible for developing and creating and drafting, and DEIC was responsible for reviewing, recommending, and providing feedback to the calendar committee. And so it really worked nicely as a checks and balance between both committees, the calendars being recommended, and just making sure that all voices and folks that had kind of a skin in the game for their program or their students or their area their voices were included and were heard and were factored into the decision-making process behind how the calendars got created, why they got reviewed, why the ones that were kind of moved forward, why that was a decision made. And so the calendar being brought to you all tonight for your approval is one that's been through this process. It went through 2 separate votes. As you can tell, based on the first survey vote, hands down, this calendar was the majority that our staff voted on, as well as they had the option to vote whether they wanted the calendar for 1 year or 2 years. And they said, we'd like to try it for 1 year. And so that's the recommendation being brought tonight is calendar B for 1 school year, 24-25. Are there any questions about anything or just?
So I have questions. So why wasn't the school calendar we had this year an option?
It was, but then it quickly became the conversation about the month-long being too long, primarily at our elementary campuses. There was just a lot of concern about just too much time being out of school for those age level students, as well as how we can kind of take care of issues like food security and just knowing that we can't provide meals during time that we are not in school delivering instruction. And so that time period, that was just another consideration. And so it was just pretty much majority consensus was to try to find a happy medium behind having a really long winter break, making sure that we honor the kind of the tradition behind NCJHS or the National County Livestock Show, and just making sure we have time off for that. And so that was kind of just 2 competing versions. This calendar was kind of a compromise between the winter month and having the Livestock Show week off as well.
So the livestock show is only going to have 3 days off instead of the whole week?
Correct.
That's correct. Also, there was a significant imbalance in the number of instructional days in the first semester versus the second semester this year. I wasn't a part of either committee. I observed the process. What I think really drove the process this year is the TM people love their 4 intercessions, and they love being out of school when everybody else is in school. They want to start early, and they want to finish in May. That's the dynamics that makes TM. And so that was the conversation throughout that process. And there was that process had parents, staff members, pretty diverse group. You talk to people, there's a group of people, Paul, that really loved the time off that we had for Christmas vacation. Similar group felt it was too long. We didn't do any polling to see that, but I think this represents that. Another significant academic issue, I'm sorry?
No, the grading periods.
It's the grading periods, you're right. The elementaries tend to really love their 6 weeks, and the secondary not so much. What I think we'll find is that they will really appreciate the reduced paperwork that the 9-week does, and they can still give formative evaluation and assessments without it being a formal report card as often as they want. I think you had a question,
I
Jane.
did. I'm sure that this was taken into consideration. One of the problems with our academic calendar in the past has been the dual credit. The colleges are, we start school and they're not in session yet. So was this part of?
Absolutely, that's part of the compromise and why we're starting when we are in January is to avoid that time period when we're off and our dual credit students are starting. This calendar takes care of that issue.
There's also an opportunity, particularly with our numbers that are in Warpath, to have the mini-mester that Mr. Alvarado referenced at the beginning of the year for those kids, because we don't want them just sitting.
So we're gonna be, our dual credit kids are not gonna have any, time lapsed where they're waiting for the college part to
Well, I
start.
don't know, you can probably answer that better.
So, a lot of the pre-stuff that happens in July is we do bridge with A&M Kingsville to get our students ready. We have a lot of kids who are gonna be the very first time they're gonna take a college course. So this past year, we bused them over to Kingsville. They went through that entire experience, so that has to happen. We also have a number of kids who still need to pass TSI. So that time frame allows us to, get them through the test, pass the test. That way we don't have to drop them from their college course. Kids have already signed up for their courses for next year. We're in the process of starting the master schedule. And some of those kids have not even attempted to take the TSI test that's needed for next July. So they're just now starting to take it. And that's pretty typical. We want them to get through at least geometry, the entire course, before they attempt the math. And then we have English 2. If they score high enough on the English 2 star, then they don't have to take TSI reading and writing at all. So it's to their benefit that we get through the entire course. And then if they still need some time to TSI test between July and September when TAMUC starts, we do have a little bit of a buffer. So the other thing we do is that we offer them, if they need to take a course in Apex to make room during their senior year, that's beneficial to them as well.
What surprised me, though, sorry to interrupt you, is we let them vote for a 2-year calendar that we would bring to you, and they voted against that. I thought that would be an attractive alternative for planning, but not so.
I know we all sit here and we talk about ADA, right? What about this week right here in January 7th through the 14th? Do you think we're gonna have a drop in ADA during that time with just that 1 week of coming back?
I don't know.
Yeah, it's hard to really.
Well, we've never done it before,
Yeah, that's
but
the thing,
I'm looking at it and knowing what's been the trend in our district. Our parents gonna make their kids come back to school for that 1 week before they're out again for the livestock show. As a trustee, that worries me about ADA. That's really my only concern I see with it.
My first year here,
It was 2
wasn't
years,
that the
yes.
calendar that we had?
Similar, not exact,
Back
but
in
similar.
between.
Yeah.
You'd have to check your ADA on that one.
Yeah.
But that's the way it was. We'd always come back for a week anyway
Right.
and stuff. My thing is, the biggest response I got to this year's was that the spring break. Man, I don't even want to be off when people come back and
Yeah.
see this.
I hear a lot. What do you
Because,
mean?
well, we're not gonna have spring break at the same time as everybody else.
I hear
And that was
that
the
as a
first time we've
detriment.
done that in years.
Yeah, I hear that, Mr. Benavides says, they don't like that. They don't like being off when everybody else is.
Well, everybody who has college kids love it because their kids are home, your kids are off. You can plan a vacation with your college kids or, people who have kids, your cousins or your other family members.
Educate me on this, those of you that are TM a lot longer than I am. Has there been an alignment traditionally with intercession and the other spring breaks?
No, this is the first year, and I can't even tell you that spring break we've actually had an intercession during spring break.
We don't even call it spring break.
Right.
It's never been referred to as spring break.
In the
Right.
16-year, or since Ben was in kindergarten to the time he graduated, it never aligned with any, we were never able to make plans with anybody because we were always a week or two before than the spring break. And I mean,
We're the last class.
this year we're pretty much, having a family reunion on the spring break with all the kids and stuff, and it'll be the first time. So I thought that was great, but but I do like the intersessions too. So.
Did both calendars have 9-week grading periods?
Yes.
So,
There was some with 6 weeks that didn't make it to the finals.
and how do they not make it to the finals?
He'll have to describe
The
it.
committee says they don't make it to the finals?
It was just the back and forth between wanting to look at a grading cycle structure that would benefit us based on our new programs and initiatives. And now that we've been another year in and we've kind of seen and are starting to understand the nature of how the programs are working, it was just not much of a conversation knowing that we've tried 6 weeks, 9 weeks is new. It allows less paperwork for our teachers, less kind of reporting overall. So if it was something that we could all agree that would be less for teachers, it was something we wanted to try and do. And also recognizing that this actually does align better to the programs we're currently offering. And so rather than having a conversation about this or that, it was, let's do this because we all agree that this is probably going to be what's best for our kids. And so that was really how we started the committee, was with that decision made. It wasn't much of a conversation after that. It was pretty much unanimous.
And we have quite a few schools within our district, in our area, that are on 9-week
Correct.
grading periods. But I think,
You'll see it more
I
and
think
more.
our biggest thing is going to be educating our kids on that and the parents, because nobody's going to know how that 9 weeks works. We all know that our kids struggle with the 6 weeks, so we've got to, with UIL, it stays the same, right?
It's better for
It's better for UIL.
Okay.
So they'll see the impact of that immediately.
Yeah.
But those other schools are not year-round school. Most of them aren't.
Correct.
No.
So,
I have a question. I saw the recordings of the committees making the decisions with the
Yeah, everything
academic
was
calendar.
recorded.
Yeah, I saw them. But I didn't see very many people that I recognized. So did you have parents and?
The district calendar committee was almost like an entirely new set of folks, just new voices, but it was all representative of all the stakeholders that you would expect
So
to see
you
on a
had
committee.
parents in there as
Yes,
well. I
absolutely.
recognized some at admin, but I didn't know if you had parents sitting on the
Yes,
committee.
in fact, the parents, the strongest that they were advocating for was the livestock week. That was the parent really driving that message and really wanting to make sure that was there. Around 5. And it was like 3 at the high school and 2 at the elementary.
The grading cycles, are they gonna align with the colleges?
Yes.
They are gonna align?
Well, the first semester, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
but the second semester is pretty close, and that's one of the reasons why we need to get kids in the terms of, if we want to start saying we're a district that's sending kids to college, we need to start doing the way things colleges are, and they don't have 6 weeks, they have
Right.
midterms and finals. And that puts us in line with
Closer
that.
to that, yeah.
Now that we have a lot of kids testing in December, did testing, was it like this December calendar this past year? Where you had the Thanksgiving week and they went straight into testing when they got back? Okay. And no concerns or issues with that?
No, because it's a window.
Yeah, we don't set it at the first day they get back. We have it the week after. So we still give
Okay.
ourselves time when they do come back.
Because I
That's just the
remember
window.
when we decided to try last year's calendar, and last year was an experiment, and everyone was very clear, like, we're gonna experiment with this. One of the biggest, hey, we think it would be good because in April, we're on intercession, come back for 1 week, and then get the kids into testing mindset, and that was expressed to be very difficult.
But I think now that we're testing in December.
Less.
With English 1.
Less.
It's less. Our biology and algebra 1 will still test in May.
Yeah.
So we will have
I guess that's on the high school level, but
Right.
district-wide, was there any other discussions on that?
No, mainly being driven by the high school because of the accelerated classes they're now implementing.
Yeah, I wish they would have said yes to the 2-year, because I don't want to keep flip-flopping everyone in the community, so.
Well, last year was just an experiment.
Yes.
This is similar to the ones we've had in the
Previous,
past.
yeah.
So I truly believe next year will be the year where we really figure out if it's needing to be more like the one we're currently proposing, or if it needs to be more like the one we have currently right now. So,
Last experiment.
let's hope so.
Well, this will be the first one going to a
9
9-week
weeks,
grading
yeah.
period
True.
too,
Yeah.
so.
There's things
I
to
think-
be mindful of and to monitor, so we've got some good stuff happening.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this one took just about everything into account. I
It
mean,
did.
And I think y'all really listened to everybody that's involved in all different kinds of activities throughout the year, so.
If you can believe it, we started this process back in September.
Oh, I can believe that.
I like that you did that, because a lot of, in the past, had been questions about UIL eligibility and when it starts and when it's in, when the kids are eligible and when they're not. And, pardon me, and then, of course, the dual credit not being aligned with the college start date and that kind of thing. So I'm glad y'all took all of those factors and put them in consideration. And this looks, like it's aligned with UIL and the dual credit in college courses. So that's good.
And especially with the dual credit, because those kids were in school when other kids were in school, and they did well. They adjusted, most of them, but this will work a lot better.
Well, it looks a lot like what we've been used to versus this past year. The whole month off was.
Yeah, this
That was
looks more like what they used to be.
Yeah.
My last question was, I think 2 meetings ago, we had a reading from the legislature on like additional holidays and stuff. All of those were able to move to like intersessions. Like, I think they added like Texas Independence Day.
Are you talking about the public information request and adding additional days to our time period? Yeah, that was kind of what that was, and it kind of was to match some of the new calendar developments that were occurring, so trying to bring things more.
So we meet all that stuff.
Oh, of course, of course.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, it is the administration's recommendation that the board approve the 2024-2025 Tolosa Midway ISD academic calendar as presented.
Have a motion, Ben? Second?
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor? 6-0. All right, the next item on the agenda is to discuss and consider approval of financial audit fiscal year ending 2023.
Mr. Carroll, you've been waiting for this item for a while.
We have with us this evening Michael Kieschnick from our accounting firm, Laverne Kieschnick. And he's going to go over some of the highlights of the audit.
Sorry to keep you waiting so long, Michael.
But all right. Good evening, everybody. It's a pleasure to be back at Tolosa Midway ISD. And I'm pleased to present you with a very fine financial report. We've issued an unmodified opinion, which means a clean audit, and it's the very best opinion you can receive on a set of financial statements. Do y'all have bound copies in front of you? Do what y'all have?
They have them. I received them.
We did
I've got 3 extra
them.
copies if you want.
I brought mine.
You're supposed to bring my phone with
We can
Kind of look
share.
on the
Here.
screen as well. No, it's okay. Yeah, he'll have it.
I went through it.
Yes, sir.
I'm good.
So I'm going to start on page 2. And this is the independent auditor's report. And the first section there, the 2 paragraphs is our opinion. And the second part of that paragraph I'm going to read to you. And it states, in our opinion, the accompanying financial statements present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position, the governmental activities, the business type activities, each major fund, and the aggregate remaining fund information of Tolosa Midway Independent School District as of August 31, 2023, and the respective changes in financial position and where applicable cash flows thereof for the year then ended in accordance with accounting principles generally accepted in the United States of America. So this is our opinion. It's unmodified. It means it's clean. I'm going to skip over to page number 16. And every school district in Texas is required to present 2 sets of financial statements. The first is a government-wide set of financials, which is more of a for-profit type presentation. And the second one is on your fund basis of accounting, which is how every school in Texas keeps the books on a day-to-day basis. So on page 16, Exhibit A1, you've got total assets in the year of $103,454,352. Deferred outflows of resources total $8,382,796. Total liability are $75,784,911. Deferred inflows of resources $12,444,163. That brings you to a total net position ending August 31, 2023 of $23,608,074. On page 17 and 18, Exhibit B1, this is your statement of activities or a for-profit type income statement. The total expenses for the district were $60,954,746. Those are offset by 2 types of program revenues, the first being charges for services of $1,519,906. Operating grants and contributions of $14,206,396. And business type activities, $222,553. Total expenses for the government, $45,228,444. Drop down to the bottom section there, you have your total general revenues, which is your state money, your property tax collections, things of that nature. That total $47,352,802. That resulted in a positive change in net position of $2,124,358. You began at $21,483,716, come back to $23,608,074 as a net position for your ending on your statement of activities for the government-wide set of financial statements. Page 19 and 20. This is your balance sheet for your governmental funds. I'm going to focus only on the general fund for you as the main operating fund of the district. Total assets for that fund is $23,097,615. Total liabilities $9,349,485. Deferred inflows of resources $414,871. That leaves you with a fund balance in the general fund of $13,333,259. Skip over to page 22 and 23. This is your statement of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balances for the governmental funds. Again, I'm going to focus only on the general fund for you. Your total revenues in that fund is $46,206,910. Total expenditures $53,456,655. So transfers out and some sales of property for a total other finance source and use of $324,470. That led to a decrease in your general fund balance of $7,574,215. You began at $20,907,474. That brings you back to an ending fund balance for your general fund as of August 31, 2023 for $13,333,259. Do you have any questions? There's a lot more to the report. On in the back, notes of the financial statements, a couple more letters from us. Those are all unmodified opinions as well. Very good reports. And I'd like to thank Mr. Carroll and Ms. Saldana for their efforts in getting the report done. Every year, there seems to be layers added to what's required, and they're always up to the challenge. We appreciate them working to get this done, so thank you both of y'all.
Congratulations to both of y'all. It's a lot of hard work that y'all do behind the scenes.
Yes. And, just to point out, the reduction in fund balance, the majority of that is the football athletic improvements. There were a couple of other one-time things. We had to reimburse the food service fund for the free meals that we served for the kids that weren't eligible. And then there were a couple of other little one-time ones. We had the matching for the JET grant. That was something that came up after the year started. And then we also had the one thing, there are some soft bond costs that were incurred this year. They will be reimbursed, and actually they're addressed in the budget amendments. And so in this fiscal year that we're currently in right now, the bond fund's going to pay us back. for those costs. So they are taken out of the fund balance now. They're going to get returned after y'all approve the budget. Hopefully after y'all approve the proposed budget amendments. So when the dust settles, the actual, what I'm calling the operating deficit for the year, meaning, you know, if you take out those one-time things, was $1.6 million.
Any other questions?
Other questions, comments?
Mr. Vice President, members of the board, it is the administration's recommendation that the board approve the Tolosa Midway ISD's financial audit fiscal year ending 2023 as presented.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Thank you, sir.
All those in
Sorry to
favor?
keep you here.
All those in favor? All right, carry 6-0. All right, the next action item here is to discuss and consider bus purchases through cooperative quote buy board number 722-23.
It's your turn, Mr. Hernandez.
I know this is in the board packet, just to give it to you for courtesy reference, it's a schedule of our vehicles.
I'm glad it's this way and not this way, because I was reading.
What'd I say?
Yeah, I was looking at that. I had to blow it up so I could see it.
Thank you.
Madam President, board members, before you is just a list of our vehicles. I'll give you a quick rundown. Currently, we're in possession of 7 special needs vehicles. I show that we have 28, the regular ed. I don't count bus number 4, 6, and 9. Y'all approved those to be surplus about 2 years ago, but I've hung on to them for emergencies. In a pinch, they can get us from high school to middle school or in the district. They don't travel out on the road. They don't get on the freeway, but they can get us here and there as we need to. So once we get some newer buses in, I'll definitely get rid of those. They're expensive to maintain. I just do the minimum amount, and you can see it there. They're 28 years old. They're older than most of the students, or all the students that are attending. And looking at the yellow fleet, I mean, we've got the buses. Our ideal schedule is to purchase about 2 buses a year. We haven't been able to meet that for a while, so we look at the schedule, we're about 9 buses behind. So this bond's gonna help us get caught up. And looking at the age of the buses, like, there's no more bus 4, 6, and 9. They don't make them like that anymore. Those buses are pretty much solid metal. There's very little plastic on them. If you look at bus number 40 in 2009, that was the first of the new C2 models, a lot of plastic on them. While those buses are just 15 years old, we're seeing major repairs on them. On bus 40, the dashboard is cracked. It's all plastic, it's cracked, and you can't release the parking brake without having to replace all that plastic panel. So we're looking at major expense. So we really need to keep these vehicles right around 12 to 15 years on the replacement plan and step it up. If you look at in 2012 is when they added DEF, diesel exhaust fluid, to meet the federal emissions requirement. And that's really killed us. When they did all the analysis for DEF, it was on over-the-road trucking, which runs continuously. If you know anyone with the diesel or anything, the DEF, it crystallizes, it ages. So on a regular bus, as long as the DEF tank is full, you're fine. When you run out of DEF, you've got 100 miles to go without adding DEF, and then the bus goes into limp mode, and it goes at about 20 miles an hour and allows you to get over to a safe spot so you can add DEF, and that protects the engine. What happens is the buses sit and this fluid crystallizes, and the sensors get clogged and they're crystallized. And we're seeing a lot of expense. Every repair is right around $2,000 to $3,000. Gasoline engines were great up to about 2020. They were common in school districts. Alice was the last one that maintained a fleet of gasoline/propane buses, and they finally went to diesel. There's a number of studies where we're going back to gasoline. Unfortunately, right now, Rush Bluebird Bus is the only one that offers that. Cummings, which is with Thomas and International, is scheduled later this year to come out with the gasoline bus.
It's too expensive on the repairs. Hopefully, the industry will take stance and make modifications to it. They're going the wrong direction. The original DF tanks were only like 5 gallons. The newer buses, they're 15 gallons. So that's even more DF that you have to burn through that can crystallize, all right? So at this time, I know we need buses. The other thing is the expense of buses. The last time we purchased buses in 2021, we paid right at $100,000. In fact, I think it was $99,999. The current price for buses is sitting right at $150,000. They've gone up considerably. Of course, the salesmen tell me now's the time to buy, that the price is never going to go down. I don't believe that. I think just like the regular auto industry where we're starting to see the prices come down, I think in about a year or two, we'll see the prices of buses come down. So I'd really like to hold out. I don't want to purchase all our buses right now with the bond money. Likewise, in the future, in 10, 12 years, we may not be passing a bond, so we don't have to buy that many buses at a time. So we're going to buy our buses in small increments of 3 or 4 over the next couple of years. The other thing is the smaller buses. If you look at bus number 14 and bus 25, those are the 14 passenger buses. They don't require a CDL because it's 14 plus the driver, so it's just 15. So they are really nice to have because anybody can drive those buses. They're a great utility vehicle. Unfortunately, they're very expensive. They're sitting right at almost $100,000 a vehicle. But we do need those to transport kids. We currently have 14 is white. It's considered an activity bus. 25 is a school bus. It's black and yellow and has loading lights. But 25 was purchased with special ed funds, so it can only be used for special ed. The white bus, because it's an activity bus, is only limited to transporting students from school to an event and back to school. We cannot transport any students home in a white bus. So I've spec'd out, and we plan, if approved, we will purchase black and yellow 15 passenger buses that can be used for everything, home transportation, events, everything. Basically, any questions about our fleet, where we're at?
I know we talked, this is kind of off basis here, but have we looked into the advertisements on buses for extra monies?
I have, and we can do it. It'll generate a small amount of income. It's just a matter of replacing. I talked to a couple of districts, and it's just replacing the logos and stuff. It was kind of a wash on the thing, so we'd have to charge them for the full amount of everything.
We've also looked at outsourcing, and right now, it's not, it's going to save us a ton of money.
It's not going to save?
It's not going to.
We had Durham for a while, and it didn't work very
And
well.
I don't like the idea of other districts being able to use our inventory either.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is the first purchase with bond money for the buses?
For buses, for vehicles, yes.
And how many are you gonna buy?
3 large buses, the 72 passenger buses, and 2 of the 15 passenger buses, 2 of the smaller ones.
And you're pretty confident that they're gonna come down and not go up?
I can't see them going up. I mean, just like your passenger vehicles, I mean, they've got to come down. Right now, there's such a backlog from the big, there was no chips for the transmissions or the engines, and they say they're 2 years behind in getting them all. But I strongly believe that once they get caught up, they've got to come down.
They certainly have leverage over us because they know we have to have school buses. I know you've answered this question before, but I'm getting older. When we ordered the special ed, the bus that we used for special ed, the delivery time was incredibly long.
It was 18 months.
Yeah, almost 2 years, right?
It's not going to be that way with these, correct?
I've spec'd out the gasoline buses with Rush Bus, and they have assured me that it would be early production that would really, at the latest, would be looking at this summer.
Oh, wow.
Yes, good, much quicker.
Yeah, we need to get them here.
Thomas is still right at a year for delivery. Because I'm kind of leery about the gasoline, but a number of the districts up north, I checked with Flower Bluff, they're happy with theirs. I checked with Beeville, they're happy with theirs. So I'm willing to give it a chance.
Did you talk to Leo about this?
Yes.
Okay. And he's
in, His option was to disconnect the DF fluid, which.
We're not gonna do that. We're not talking Leo Gonzalez.
No.
Yeah, I just want to. Stop Mr. Gonzalez.
Leo's got dual jobs.
And what are the, just for everyone's, electric buses that some districts are going to? There are a few of them here in the state.
Electric buses, that it is an opportunity. I did explore some grants early on. I was really hoping to be the first district in South Texas to purchase one. They would be ideal for the route buses. Because we're 90 square miles, our district. We'd run the routes in the morning, and actually I'm told that we could not have to plug them in, probably about every other day we would plug them in. The technology is getting better. The batteries, they're very expensive, and they assure you that they last 10 years, but they're not lasting 10 years. So as the technology gets a little bit better, that's definitely a way to go. Our limitation is, we're a small fleet. Our newer buses, the new buses we get, I hold them out. They don't go into route service. They're used for the field trips. They're the brand new buses are the ones that go to San Antonio, Houston, our big runs like that. In going with electric buses, at 140 miles, it would just barely get us to San Antonio without a recharge. So that's the only reason. But for en route, that would be ideal. It's just the costs right now, they're more than a regular bus, but it's almost two buses.
Yeah.
But there are some grants out there that are available that could help us to get those. I would love to see one.
Which district locally, or is one of them, who was it was gonna try them?
It was in the valley, I think was the closest one.
There was one up there, yeah.
But I know San Antonio.
The thing is getting the batteries to have one in, nearby, because like my niece had one of those electric Mustangs and the battery went dead. I mean, it just fried. So she couldn't get a battery it was 12 months before she could even get a battery. But they wanted her to make that payment though, but it's crazy. Right? So if you don't have a battery accessible, now, it ain't gonna work anywhere, routes or trips or anything.
Yeah, kids on the side of the road because there's no battery.
Yeah, because the batteries on those buses,
a lot.
it's a lot. The whole bottom of it's nothing but batteries.
All right.
The last thing I was gonna say, this sheet, the expiration is not 2021, right? All of our registration?
No, I just took the old database and
Okay.
did everything I took.
Before, it's posted online, can we either update or just remove that column?
Yes.
What's our newest bus and what's the age of our newest bus and what's the age of our oldest bus?
Our newest,
Oh, I see the years right here. Sorry.
60, 61, 62 were purchased, and those are 2021 buses. And then, of course, 4, 6, and 9 are our 1996 buses. But, they were completely, they were solid buses, 32, 33. They're old buses, but they run. And it's just the newer ones that are made out of plastic.
Yeah, I would hate to run into bus 4. I was behind it with it. It looks like it's all.
You would lose the
It looks
battle.
like it's a Ford. Yeah.
You would lose the battle.
Is that the one somebody ran into the back of, oh gosh, it's been several years
It was
back.
actually bus 30 on Highway 44 where we got rear-ended. It was bus 30.
I bothered
really did.
Mr. Van Matry about bus 4. The tail light was broken. I was right behind him. I don't know whether I should or not.
All right, any other questions, comments?
Okay, Mr. Vice President, members of the board. It is the administration's recommendation that the board approve the cooperative by-board purchase of 3 gasoline-powered 71-passenger Bluebird buses for the total amount of $438,320 and 2 14-passenger Thomas buses for the total amount of $193,800 as presented.
Have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All right, James makes a motion, Kim seconds. All those in favor? Carry 6-0. All right, the next agenda item is discuss and consider vehicle purchases through cooperative quote by board 724-23.
Don't go anywhere. Hernandez.
All right, I can't give you a history on a white fleet because we've never had a white fleet here at Tuloso Midway. I've been here 16 years and we've never had a white fleet. A white fleet is just the vehicles that are available for the district use. We've always had a contract since I've been here with Enterprise and we rent the vehicles. It's cumbersome on the employees because they have to take time to go pick up the vehicle at the airport or one of the other locations, travel to their destination, and when they get back, return the vehicle to the rental place. Also, in getting larger vehicles, of course, the biggest we can get is this Suburban SUV. They're very limited in demand. Unless we put in our rental request months in advance, it's impossible to get a Suburban, a large SUV. We have to do multiple vehicles to transport. So we'd like to take this opportunity with the bond money and start purchasing a white fleet. I looked at the three major manufacturers, of course, is Chevy with their Suburban, Ford with their Expedition, and Jeep came into the market with their Wagoneer. The Wagoneers are available, but they are priced very high. Even with our district rate, the best we could get was about $72,000 to $73,000. A Chevy Suburban, they give you the best deal. We'd be looking at about $57,000, $58,000, but it's a year to possibly 18 months before we would see those. Expeditions, I was excited. Seawell has an inventory of them, and had an inventory of them, and they had 20 of them. And I thought I was going to be able to bring you the exact VIN numbers and get those approval from the purchase. They called me, told them they had them. They sent me the VINs, and then I kind of looked at the VINs, and I questioned because one of them had captain seats, and by having the captain seats, you lose some of the seating, and I didn't want that. So they went back and they looked, and they realized that actually some of the vehicles they'd already been sold, and they weren't what we wanted, or they were the wrong color. They were black and blue. So to purchase vehicles to go out and actually when we approve the PO tomorrow, we would contract with them and they would order the vehicles. The shortest turnaround time is the Expedition. They assure me that we will have the vehicles sometime in June, July at the latest. Whereas Chevy, we would be looking at February, March of next year. So that was the reason to go with the Expedition.
What's the difference?
The Excursion or the Expedition?
I'm sorry, the Excursion, the larger one.
Yeah,
That's like a tank,
They,
though.
they still make Excursions?
Yes.
Yeah, that's like a
Yeah,
tank.
They
That's-
brought them back, I don't know, a year or two ago.
They are tanks.
Yeah, that's a big vehicle.
Are these diesels or gas?
No, I'm sorry, these are the Expedition, not the Excursions. They're seated for 8, they're rated for 8.
Oh,
The
okay.
excursions were in the board book though.
Well, this says Excursion.
Yeah, it's Excursions, I'm sorry. It's not the
Which ones is it? Expeditions or excursions? I don't think they make excursions.
yes, it's the Expedition. It's what's listed on this. It's the Expedition.
Okay, so this isn't
Yeah, 'cause an
right.
Excursion, I think, would be way too big. That's like a mini bus.
I don't
Yeah.
think they make them.
They don't make, the largest they make is the Expedition seated for 8.
And then where are we gonna store these so that they don't get weather rot and they
It'll be
don't?
at the bus barn, and hopefully we can make a canopy or something like that. We've
Yeah,
got
cardboard
limited
or something.
We got limited, we can only fit, we put the newer buses underneath the canopy, and then we'll make room for these vehicles or get a possible carport or something to cover them. It makes a huge difference when they're out of the direct sunlight.
Oh, for sure, yeah, we don't,
Absolutely.
I mean, we need to try
How
and,
many of these are you?
3 for right now. These all seat 8 passengers. As we go on and we add to the fleet, we can look at something like a Traverse. If there's not as many teachers traveling together, a Traverse makes a great vehicle.
And I know it's hard, I'm sorry, to lease them and stuff, but on the insurance side of it, I mean, we have to be covered extremely well once we have kids in our vehicles, or even staff or whoever. Is that really gonna take, have we figured out the insurance side of that yet?
Well, we have pretty solid immunity from the state of Texas unless you transport the kid in your personal vehicle.
Yeah.
So we have an accident with kids in our vehicles, we're exempt?
We're covered.
There will be an impact to insure additional vehicles. I don't know what that impact will be until we add them to the inventory, until we add them to the policy. But Pretty much the way it works though is anything we add during the year is like automatically covered. And it kind of catches up with us the next year when we renew.
So also being funded through the bond, 3 of them, what was the total amount of vehicles we got through the bond though?
I have that here. It's a little over $800,000.
It is monetary value.
Okay, monetary.
So what that means, we're gonna get more vehicles than just these?
Well, we have it in the bond to purchase.
We have, okay.
We had done 17 buses, hadn't we?
Yes, but that was at 120,000. So if the prices stay the same, this 17 dropped down a bit. Because again, it was a monetary value.
Oh, wow, okay.
And do you just have to buy brand new buses? Could you look at used buses, or it's not worth the investment?
The peers that have bought used buses have not yet had a good experience. Banketti, they purchased some Bluebirds, and within a year, they were turning around and putting them for sale.
Okay.
So that's why they're
Being sold.
I had a really bad experience with
Trying to get some.
with a couple. We had a third party that ran our buses, and one of their districts, I think it was Kaufman ISD, sold us a couple for really cheap, and there was a reason. Yeah. So, that's not to say we shouldn't look for any kind of bargain that we can find.
It's hard to tell what's happened to the vehicle, but like if a rodent gets into the wiring loom, but the cost to replace all the electrical, it's more than the cost of the bus. And you just have ghosting problems here and there. It's just.
Plus, you have a lot more warranty with the new bus that would help.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Any other comments or questions?
Okay, so it's expedition, correct?
Correct.
It's not excursion. Okay, the administration recommends that the board approve the cooperative by board purchase of 3 gasoline-powered Ford Expeditions. Is that XLT correct?
Yes.
XLTs from Sewell for a total cost of $178,295.26 as presented.
Have a motion? Second. All those in favor? So next is the discuss and consider approval of consent agenda informational items. Tax collection report, quarterly investment report, check payment register, budget amendments, and January 2024 financials. Any questions or concerns?
Can we, I guess, go through them one by one? So, not many taxes collected? Is that what it's looking like?
I think we're 4 million short, aren't we? I mean, I think we're.
I can tell you that it does take the county, we've gotten a significant amount in February. This is through January 31st.
Okay.
And they were a little bit slower I know they get bombarded before the 31st deadline.
Yeah, Kevin said he had lines at his office.
Yeah, and I will tell you that.
CC Polymers paid.
CC Polymers paid. That's always good.
What are you, about 5 million year-to-date below?
Yeah, right at this point, at this date, I'm about 5 million behind, but I'm pretty sure it's it's what Flint Hills agreed to within their settlement. That's the difference. It's not.
Well, that answers my question.
It's not hurting me on the. It's not hurting us on the M&O side. The state will make up the difference, and thankfully we have a really healthy fund balance on the INS side. And especially since CC Polymers paid, because they pay 100% of the INS value, or they pay 100% of the value on the INS side. So we're good to go, but we are a little behind on where we were last year, and the levy is just a little bit is about $1 million less than it was last year, the total levy.
Okay. Any other ones, please?
My only issue is the county gets to earn a little more interest on our money since they don't actually physically give it to. I think we got the biggest payment on think it was like the 12th or the 13th of February. We got about, I think, a total of about maybe $15 million that day. So we lost 12 days of interest, which is a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything was tracking a little bit slower though, yeah.
Can you kind of high level go through the budget amendment?
Yes. I believe the first one is what I discussed. That's just the bond fund paying back the general fund for those soft costs that were incurred during the fiscal year 23 that we just audited, that we just got through discussing. And then the other two are just reallocating functions between the early education and the primary. They wanted to divert they had some funds in contract services for training. They want to move it over to get some more smart boards or some more educational devices for their classrooms. And then I think the other one is the CCMR. Unfortunately, our academic decathlon team, I don't guess they made it to pass regional. So we have a little bit of funds left over from that. So we're moving that over to get some more textbooks for the dual credit classroom. That just required a change in function. Those last two have no effect. They're a wash. But the first one is increasing the fund balance back to $63,000 that we just reduced it at the end of last fiscal year.
Good. Anybody else?
Would like to point out on the general fund, some positive news. We're through January 31st, 41.6% of the fiscal year, and we've spent 39%. That's $1,263,161. Now, we also have to back out the projected attendance. The budget was built at 94.5, and we're at, I think, 1.3% lower than that. So that's 422,000. So when you have the savings that we've incurred after 5 months, and then you back out the attendance, we're projected to save right now, 5 months into the budget, over $840,000, which is going in the right direction.
Going in the right direction.
Yep. Good deal. All right, the next action item on here is the enrollment report. Is that right?
No, it's just all, it's all consent.
Yeah, we just need
It's all
a
consent.
recommendation,
Oh,
administrator's recommendation.
okay.
It's the administration's recommendation that the board approve the consent agenda items as presented.
I'll make that motion.
All right,
I'll second that.
all right. All those in favor? 6-0.
And the future meetings is wrong.
Okay.
The next one is March 4th, where you're going to lock in the rate for the bonds. Is that a 6 o'clock meeting?
Yes, sir.
Lock in the rate for the bond purchase, and then we have that, we also have a one-time deal for of some older bonds.
All right.
And there was just, there were some agenda items that we left off that we need to bring back. We'll probably wait till the regular meeting. Sodexo, vaping data, what else? We're already at 7. Truancy, we're already at 7. SHARS,
Communities and schools?
communities and schools, we're already at 7 or 8 items for that. But that'll be, I think I'd mentioned it in the connections, and if you're wondering why it wasn't, it's just there was the
17.
The stuff that needed to be acted on by the trustees, we couldn't move. So the others, we had a little flexibility.
Can I don't know if I can ask this question. It has to do with enrollment. Why, with the district growing as it has, why has our district enrollment rate?
Transfers.
But do we know how many kids from TM transfer out? Is that a PIMS?
Yeah, we have that. It's less than what transfers in.
I think our transfer out in the 200s. Our transfer in's a little over 400. Yeah, our transfer out is, I would say it's in the.
I have that actual data that Dr. White, you sent that to me during
Correct.
the bond campaign. You can send it to me again. I'll put it in connections.
Okay, good. I was just wondering, I saw.
And also, I'll tell you another thing that's interesting. It tells us where they go and where our kids come from. That's really interesting to look at.
It's as of snapshot date.
Okay, good.
All right, anything else? All right, so now any further business? All right, so we have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Every time, win and ball.
I'm looking over at the administration first.
I'd never noticed that.
All the
All right, well, this 9:14 meeting is adjourned. Oh, hey, all those in favor, that's
There
right.
we go.
All right, 6-0. Now it's 9:15 and the meeting is.
Basketball game tomorrow night, boys at King High School in Kingsville, 8 o'clock versus Hidalgo.